Mavericks. The road to banner 18. This is the flagship station of the Boston Celtics.
The Boston Celtics swarm the floor.
WBZFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. Leslie Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
The Celtics will try to close out the Mavericks in Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight in Dallas. Boston up 3-0. Kristaps Porzingis officially listed as questionable for tonight's game. Shams Charania said yesterday there is a chance that he'll play. Hear the game right here on 98.5, the Sports Hub. Coverage begins at 6 with a special 90-minute Celtics show, then a 1-hour pregame at 7:30, and the call of the game with Grandy and Max at 8:30. Florida Panthers have a 3-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Final after a 4-3 win last night in Edmonton. The Panthers will play for the franchise's first Stanley Cup tomorrow night. Red Sox pounded out 14 hits in a 9-3 win over the Phillies last night at Fenway. They take 2 out of 3 in that series and now host the Yankees in a 3-game set starting tonight. First pitch at 6:30. The Patriots now have all their draft picks under contract after second-round wide receiver Jalen Polk signed his deal yesterday. Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence agrees to a 5-year contract extension worth up to $275 million. Lawrence gets a $37 million signing bonus, $142 million fully guaranteed. The NFL yesterday stripped the Atlanta Falcons of a 5th-round pick and fined the team and their GM for tampering with 3 players, including quarterback Kirk Cousins, who they signed in March. And at the U.S. Open, Rory McIlroy and Patrick Cantlay tied for the lead after round 1 at 5 under par. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by Rapid Flow Sewer and Drain Cleaning. This summer, a tree root may shift and grow through your sewer line. So do what Beetle did. Call 800-286-FLOW or visit rapidflowinc.com. With Rapid Flow, one call solves it all. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in around 30 minutes.
You want to talk sports? We want to talk sports.
Squeeze the chicken and open the mouth.
It's like we were meant for each other.
This is why you need us.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. Hello. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. 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 Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Let's talk about cheese.
Bruins are back from the West Coast.
What the Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Welcome to the show, you sweet bitch.
Howdy, good morning. We are Toucher and Hardy. Hardy is not here. He's not here. Whoops. There you go. He is not here. He is at Michigan State University. He's going, leaving this morning, but he's going to Michigan State University. His son is in the state championship of baseball, and his daughter is visiting the school. The state championship of baseball being held in East Lansing. You would think that you would want it at Comerica Park in Detroit, but you have or even at University of Michigan, which is in Ann Arbor, which is closer, but you have to go to East Lansing to play at Michigan State.
It's weird. In Massachusetts, they hold a baseball championship in Worcester at Polar Park, where the Worcester Red Sox play for some reason. But I would think the kids, send them to Fenway.
You would think that you'd want to play at Fenway.
Yeah, but the state championship's at Polar Park.
But they're very precious about the field at Fenway Park. Like, even when Boston College would play there, they wouldn't, it didn't seem like they were able to warm up like normally on the field. It just, everything is precious about Fenway Park.
I don't understand.
They can have concerts every other day, but, stay off that infield dirt.
Yeah, the golf. Didn't they have like a golf thing there once?
In the winter, anything goes. In the winter, they'll just rip the hell out of it. But once it gets springtime, they're very precious about that field. Because I remember my son and I went with Boston. We went on the bus with Boston College baseball one year when he was little. And he was essentially supposed to be the bad boy. He couldn't do it, but we were in the dugout and everything, and we weren't allowed to touch the grass. We were in that margin, the foul line margin, by the stands. We had to stay around there. He was able to walk around the field, but like we weren't supposed to be on the grass. It was very strange.
You missed it. I think the first year as a show, 15 years ago, we played a charity softball game at Fenway Park.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that.
And you were not there. I was there, and I did play, and they wouldn't let us touch the infield grass.
Yeah.
It was roped off, and they had a pitching machine throw softballs for us as hitters.
Yeah, my son's taking batting practice at Fenway when I had the season ticket package, which was the best thing about having the season ticket package, which now is unnecessary because tickets are less
Yes.
than they would be face value. I mean, I'm going to games with way better seats, paying half as much money as I did when I had those season tickets. But, yeah, there was a pitching. That was actually kind of cool. But, yeah, but it was always ended in frustration for my son because my son would be 11 years old and be like, why am I not hitting him to the fence? I'd be like, because this is a Major League Stadium.
It's 300 feet is a lot further away than you thought it was.
Absolutely. We are Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And you can watch us on YouTube every morning. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and subscribe to keep up to date with the best moments in Boston's home for sports. When I was a kid and played Pop Warner, we played at the Pontiac Silverdome. And the thing I remember about that is, the guy didn't even try with my last name. Like, no one's going to guess my last name's Toucher. If you don't know, my last name's really spelled Toettcher. The reason I spelled Toucher is obviously because it's phonetic. That when I was in Atlanta, my program director, when I first started, was like, you have a cool last name, debatable, but he's like, you have a cool last name or a unique last name. You should use that as your name. And I went, okay, well, if I'm going to do that, I got to spell it phonetically because no one's going to know in writing what this name is. And if you're making like promotional material back when they used to promote shows, like
when was the last time this program was promoted?
when Beasley first bought the station.
But
That
even when
was the first.
CBS had us before that, when did they really promote the show?
I'm telling you, the
billboards
only time that I recall this show ever having this, or any incarnation of this show having billboards, was when we first started at Beasley. And those were because they were right at Dorchester, with dumping Dorchester, like the freeway right behind us had billboards.
They had the
I never
billboards
saw
on
them.
top of the abandoned building right next to
Exactly.
us. That's right.
The only
Channel
reason-
56 building.
Yeah, the only reason those buildings were there in Dorchester were as something
Just
to hold
as an
up billboards.
advertising device.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Basically.
I wonder if anyone's moved into that building, that huge project that they did where the Globe used to be.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone's moved into that thing yet.
Have they wiped out all those buildings yet? They were supposed to for like big apartment complexes.
It was going to be the future of the city.
That's right.
Dorchester was going to be the future
right
of the
across
city.
from UMass Boston, a garden spot.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been like $1 billion renovation thing. It was this huge the Boston Globe building. Like, they gutted it, refurbished it, like filled it all up. It was supposed to be this big deal. And the whole time they were going to knock down the old TV building.
Yeah, and then our building too, and build condos on top of all of it.
Yeah, and I wonder if anyone's moved into any of that stuff. But I played at the Pontiac Silverdome, and they said the guy called me Toettcher, which I just went, you didn't even toe toucher, toocher, any of that. Toettcher?
Yeah.
You're not trying. And then
But hang on, that experience was. I remember you telling me about the Silverdome playing surface and how it felt like cement when you fell down.
Well,
on
that's what I'm saying, is that there was a very thin line of the thing I remember most about playing on the Silverdome is that there was all it was a cement floor with a very thin AstroTurf.
That old school AstroTurf was. Believe me, I've been on the field at Old Vet Stadium in Philadelphia, which supposedly had the worst turf in the league.
That's right.
Yeah,
and it was hard as a rock.
It was playing on concrete. I mean, you were playing on concrete. There was no cushion there. It was, and I just remember feeling so bad for the Lions that you had to get tackled on that thing. Break your hip. It was miserable. None of us were excited anymore. Like, as soon as we got on the field, it seemed like very ghetto. Like, everything seemed bad about the Silverdome. And now it sits abandoned, much like Dorchester. No big refurbishes.
They never knocked it down?
They might have knocked it down, but it sat abandoned for like 15 years.
Yeah, there's always that obligatory picture of inside buildings like that. They tried it with McCoy Stadium where the Paw Sox used to play. Overgrown this and, disgusting mold here. And that's a good point. Does the Pontiac Silverdome still stand? Because it's been empty for, 30 years now?
It has been torn down.
Okay.
It's now, I believe it's now an Amazon warehouse.
That makes sense.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I saw a man die there.
Right.
So that I can tell you. Is that my friend Jason Danielewicz and I were in line. I still talk to him about this because it's hard to believe it's true. But we were in a beer line. It's funny. I'm looking at the ruin porn that you said, John, about the Pontiac Silverdome, and they're showing it's flooded.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it was flooded when it was open.
I know.
Because the day that the guy died, it was raining and the Silverdome was effed up, and it was when I think they were probably building Ford Field, so they didn't care anymore, and it was just entirely flooded, so there was standing water everywhere. My friend Jay and I were in line at this beer stand. This guy collapses. Even now, you would think that people go, oh, but the guy collapses. Everyone just stood there. Like, eventually EMS came. They screwed around with the body. Beer line still in the beer line. Casually made calls on their CBs. Couple minutes later, some other dudes came up. No hurt rush. Put him on a stretcher, like in a bag or like something. I can't really remember. And then just took him away. And they're like, yeah, he's dead. And we're like, okay. And then that was that. It wasn't on the news. It wasn't in the newspaper. No one.
It's another day at the office. Didn't make the news at all.
No one. There was nothing.
Yeah.
There was. I mean, I guess why would it? I don't know. I guess it was it might have been Thanksgiving, so maybe they.
That's a significant news story. Guy dies at Thanksgiving Day football game.
People die all the time.
Yeah, he didn't fall off the stands. I remember a guy leapt off. This became a big. They got scared that people were going to start doing this at a Rolling Stones concert at the Silverdome. Someone jumped off the club level and died, and so they thought this was going to be a wave of dudes jumping off to their deaths. No, but this was just a guy whose heart gave out. I don't remember what he looked like. I remember him being way older than me.
How old were you at the time?
20. It's early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was late 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy, and that's probably the end of the Silverdome was late 90s. And so yeah, the guy died, and I talked to Jay about it. I talked to Jay about it not long ago. I'm like, that happened, right? Yeah. I'm like, okay.
But it's interesting when you get to the end of the line for buildings, and Ryan, you know this because of the vet, and I was at Shea Stadium right before they knocked that thing down. I mean, you can tell that the owners of the team are waiting for the thing to collapse before they announce. It just, you walk through buildings like that, and my experience in Oakland, Fred, when I went to an Oakland A's game, and this was 20 years ago. That building was falling down
Sitting
then.
in puddles of sewage in
Talk
Oakland.
about ruin porn. I mean, you just take a snapshot of any Oakland A's game. Can you imagine what that place is going to look like when the A's finally leave?
I was at the vet, but not vet. The Phillies played at the. Where did the Phillies play?
They played at the vet.
Okay,
vet.
so I was at Veterans Stadium right before it closed, and it rained. And when we got to the park, because they hadn't canceled the game yet, there must have been 5 inches of standing water on the AstroTurf.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And it was right at the end of the vet. They were building the stadium next door, that was ready to go. And so there probably was. I'm like, there's no way they're playing the game. Why did we come here? Why hasn't the game been canceled? I had pictures of it. It's a lake. It's just a lake. And I'm like, well, I don't know how they're going to irrigate this. I don't know how they're going to play tomorrow. None of this makes any sense.
Shea Stadium was like that. They had nets above each of the tunnels as you walked out because the concrete was falling from the upper decks. So the netting was to protect the paying customers who were walking into these games, these Mets games.
I saw the Jets preseason games at Shea when I was real little.
Yeah.
And that was a dump then.
Yes.
Boy, that's a weird place for Stadium.
Way off in the middle, way off on the edge, right next to the tennis center. Yeah.
It's right by LaGuardia.
Right by the airport.
Yeah, it's right next to LaGuardia. Like you see, it was.
I guarantee it was like the land was cheap back in the '60s when they needed to build a stadium out there. It's like, hey, we'll just build it out by the airport.
Yeah.
I remember like growing up watching watching Phillies games on TV. Every time they would go and play the Mets, like the announcers would talk about all the planes. Like you'd hear them on the TV. Like there's just constantly planes flying overhead at low altitude.
That pilot had blue eyes. Good to see him today.
Yeah, I guess the players all live around there too. They all live like around Shea Stadium or around whatever that City Park or whatever the hell it is now. But City Field. Yeah, I guess they all live around. They live out there. There's some like nice town like right around there. All right, we'll be back. We'll do what happened last night as things might end tonight for the Boston Celtics. And we will have that and so much more. There was the Stanley Cup Finals and everything else. We will have that for you coming right up.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
game as the Celtics gave you a heart attack in this game, and the way this series looked shifted in a major way because of the Celtics' ability and Jaylen Brown's ability to put it away.
And that's really the true story of this team. What's different from 2 years ago, what's different from a year ago is those type of games right there, they let one or two of those slide.
Donic and Bertrand, weekday mornings at 10 on the Sports Hub. You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Did you catch a game last night?
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. John, what happened last evening? I keep doing that. All right.
That's all right. Yesterday, an off day for the NBA Finals. Fred, Celtics held a short practice in front of the media at American Airlines Arena. We all know it. Celtics lead the Mavericks 3-0. The availability of Kristaps Porzingis remains a big story. He missed Game 3 with a dislocated tendon in his left foot. He has officially been listed as questionable for Game 4 tonight. Joe Mazzulla wasn't giving up anything yesterday.
Kristaps gotten better from yesterday to today. He's fighting like hell to play, but it's going to be up to us to protect him and to make sure that he's in the best. It's in the best interest for him as a player and a person. Going into what's best for a player and a person has nothing to do with where we're at from a basketball standpoint.
Okay. Again, the Mazzulla speech pattern confuses me sometimes. Porzingis out on the court in front of the media, walking without a limp and getting up some shots. Shams Charania, a direct competitor of ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, was a guest to the Pat McAfee show yesterday and told him the Celtics hadn't ruled Porzingis out and he was fighting to play. Did you find that strange? That McAfee had Charania on the show and he had Woj he could have just called for the same network?
All right, where does Shams Charania, what's his outlet?
The Athletic.
Okay. And so I heard that Shams was like dunking on that Woj guy during it because of some report about JJ Redick. I don't know. I think that ESPN has made a big mistake with Pat McAfee. Again, the reason Pat McAfee was successful was because of his relationship with Aaron Rodgers, and he would have Aaron Rodgers on. Aaron Rodgers would say a bunch of like controversial stuff. It was on YouTube or whatever, so we'd talk about it. Everyone would talk about it, and then McAfee would have like 5 million hits. So ESPN said, "Oh wow, Pat McAfee's got 5 million hits. This guy's the future of broadcasting. We can't get anyone to watch this product on the internet." So they hired him, not knowing. Well, the only reason anyone's looking at this is because of Aaron Rodgers. Pat McAfee's corny. He's like it would have been corny 20 years ago. He's just a corny guy, yelling and walking around, standing up. Anyone who stands up when they broadcast sucks.
ESPN has a strange deal with McAfee. ESPN doesn't own the show. McAfee does.
They were desperate.
They're trying to attract the young bros who like McAfee. But get some eyeballs. Those are people who don't watch ESPN on a regular basis. So
but it was the wrong guy to get. When I was at that conference last weekend, for better or worse, there was a guy there that runs the Hofstra radio department, and he used to be the PD of Kiss FM in New York. So he was Scott Shannon's PD. He's like a legit radio guy, like a big radio guy.
Yep.
And he said, all right, because a lot of these dudes worked in AM radio, and now no one listens to AM radio. There was a debate if they were going to even have it in cars anymore. So what the guy said is, here's what I would do. These AM stations are basically worth nothing now. What I would do is I would find a bunch of like 22 to 26-year-olds, and I'd give them a station. I mean, I'd own it, but I'd give them, if I was the company.
Let them run it.
Let them run it. You brand it. I mean, you'd have someone there to like make sure that they're complying with stuff. You brand it. You run it. And now it's your playground, so it's worthless to me anyway. I mean, some of these AM stations I don't even know what's on them. The one that used to be ESPN, some gambling nonsense now. I haven't listened to it in 5 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if no one's going to – there's some AM stations that get 0 zeros. Like, they might as well do anything. So if you let kids have it and you said this is the only place you can do this, it's a real operation. It's not just some podcast. It's a real live working functioning broadcast entity, and this is the only place you can get it, that's what you do. And that's what you do if you're ESPN. If you want a younger audience and you want to go outside the box, go outside the effing box. Don't take some guy in his late 30s, early 40s that is doing a shtick that's as old as time. Yes.
I don't, especially ESPN has been very smart for long periods of time, developing programming, hiring women to do jobs before everyone started hiring women to do jobs in the media. And they hired this guy. I understand wanting the demographic, Ryan, but there's the other stuff on the back end that you have to pay for.
He doesn't do well. He doesn't do well. No. That's the wrong thing. He's not the back end stuff. If he was doing well, that would be great. I mean, corporations wouldn't advertise with Howard Stern. He still made that company millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So, no, the controversies can be good. Controversy is great. If people are talking about you, it's fantastic. The problem is no one watches it. No one consumes it. It's not – the big star there is Stephen A. Smith.
That's true. He's on 100% of the time. So, back to the Celtics. Yesterday, a day where the media asked some of the team about the best Joe Mazzulla sayings they've heard this season. This is an off day. The Celtics are up 3-0. Mazzulla can be a little strange at times.
Your players have referred to you as crazy, unusual, bizarre, whatever, because of your philosophies. Do you embrace that? Do you like when your players think they don't know what to expect from you?
I think the thing you just can't take for granted in the game today is a coach's greatest gift is a group of guys that want to be coached, want to be led, that also empower themselves. And so I think at the end of the day, I just appreciate the fact that we have an environment where learning and coaching is important and getting better and developing is important. And so you can't do that. Like, you can't be a good coach if your players don't let you. You can't be an effective coach. Everything starts with them, their ability to buy in, their ability to execute the things. And so, as a staff, we're grateful, and we talk about it every day. Like, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here.
Wow. If it wasn't for the players, they wouldn't be there?
That's true. And I like the fact that it was Gary Washburn that asked that question. That was interesting to me. Anyway, they kept asking.
Joe, you're very odd. What do you think about that?
And he did nothing to buy into that. I thought he would have gone after Gary for asking that. So they asked a bunch of players. They got to Sam Hauser, and he had this answer.
What did he just say this the other day? There's no fouls in a war. You either die or you don't. Something like that. That was a good one. That's awesome. Yeah.
There's no fouls in a war. You either live or you either die or you don't. When would that come up?
I don't know. Mazzulla is very strange, and Hardy's not here to defend him, so I feel a little like I'm going behind his back.
That's fair.
Because Hardy had dinner with Joe Mazzulla, you understand?
That's right, Italian. Ate very well. Joe ordered for the table that night. Let's get to the Mavericks. The fallout continues for Luka Doncic, who, as we all know, was torn apart by ESPN's Brian Windhorst after Dallas's Game 3 loss for his constant complaining to the refs. Yesterday, given a chance to back their best player, a number of Mavericks did not. Derek Lively is a 20-year-old rookie, and he said this.
We can't sit here and be like, the ref did this, the ref did that. We can't control that. What we can control is the positions that we're putting ourselves in to get those fouls. Understanding that if we're talking and we're getting mad at the referees, they're going to end up they're going to get the last laugh. So we got to be able to just be mature, be able to move on from whatever play, whatever call they're going to make on the floor, because we're not able to control that. What we're able to do is focus on our reaction to those calls.
All right, so Brian Windhorst, if you didn't hear it, had this to say after the game, immediately following the game the other night.
Luka fouls out late. I just wonder your reaction to that whole sequence.
I thought it was perfect that Luka fell onto the ground there in an unacceptable position to put himself in with 4 minutes left with 5 fouls, and then immediately looks at the bench and says, you better bleeping challenge it, as if it's the bench's fault that he just made a terrible play. I'm standing here in the Mavericks tunnel. Over there is the Celtics tunnel. That's where the winners are. If Luka's ever going to be a winner coming out of this tunnel here, he is going to have to use what's happened in this finals as a learning experience. His defensive performance is unacceptable. He is a hole on the court. The Celtics are attacking him. They are ahead in this series because they've attacked him defensively. And you've got a situation here where Luka is complaining about the officiating. They have begged him. They have talked with him. They have pleaded with him. He is costing his team because of how he treats the officials. He's a brilliant player. He does so many things well. They are here because of how he did. His performance in this game is unacceptable, and the reason why the Mavericks are not going to win. He's got to get over this. And the fact that he came out after the game and blamed the officials showed me he's nowhere close yet. So maybe over the summer, somebody will get to him because nobody with the Mavericks or anybody else in his life has. And that's where the Mavericks are at this point. They're never going to get to this tunnel with the trophy if he doesn't improve those aspects of his game.
Brian Windhorst, I'll leave it right there. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll talk again this series. You think we get to a Game 5 Monday or no?
I'm very interested to see what Luka does on Friday. The 18th banner is coming to Boston. The duck boats are getting loaded up at some point. I want to see how Luka reacts because he owes his team a better performance in Game 4.
All right, so Brian Windhorst says this, and great. I mean, we all watched the game. Luka's a baby, and, good. I'm glad Windhorst said this after the game. Now, I don't know what's going on. It's so weird because now there's just websites that are totally just dedicated to analyzing what analysts say. And so now there's this big pushback on Windhorst, and people around him have to defend that he actually talked to people from the Mavericks and that they said that they've talked to him. Why would Windhorst make that up? So he does a shot after the game that he's obviously planned, and he's just making stuff up on ESPN. The guy's been broadcasting on ESPN for 15 years. He's just making stuff up. It's so ridiculous. Anytime anyone says anything remotely interesting now, people go back and comb through it and criticize the guy for saying something interesting. It's fascinating. Like Jay Wright, the guy, he was by the way, like the front row behind the bench.
Jay Wright was.
Yeah, I saw him on TV.
Okay.
But he's got a whole situation happening. I've met him before. He looks he's got a whole Jesus thing happening now. It's very exciting.
Okay.
Jesus with a big old beak.
Okay.
He's saying, take all the attention away from this nose. He's like, I'm going beard, long hair. I'm wearing 3-piece suits. You just stay away from this nose. And that is a guy I contend that no one watches. Do you know when Jay Wright is on TV? You might know. I don't have any idea. I know he's on Fox. I don't know who he's on with or what's going on. But he said that I saw this because there's sites that dedicate themselves just to analyzing analysts.
Oh, you mean Nick? Oh, Nick Wright.
Nick Wright. Oh, not Jay Wright.
Jay Wright's a former basketball coach. Yeah. I was like, what the hell's going on?
All right, my bad. Nick Wright.
Nick Wright.
That's how well I know.
No, that's a guy who's been screaming, begging people to pay attention to him for years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he said that he texted Brian Windhorst afterwards to defend Luka Doncic. And I don't understand what is debatable about that. Luka Doncic bitches too much to the refs. It was talked about before this series. He fouled out of a game. With a bad foul. He had no business fouling out of that game, and they are down 3-0. And Luka is supposed to be a big star, and he's fat and out of shape and complains too much. Yes.
But the response to this from the Mavericks is interesting. A, the players were not told not to say anything. A number of players did, including a rookie, that's unusual, a rookie speaking out against the team's best player. But the other part of it is, magically, after he gets torn apart by Brian Windhorst, Luka Doncic, during an off day, sits down with Malika Andrews, and he sat there and took it for about 5 minutes.
Probably wasn't the smartest thing. It was a physical game. To get 6 fouls, I didn't expect it.
You're the ultimate competitor. I'm sure you wanted to be out on the floor. How did it feel watching your teammates have to battle without you when the game was within reach for those final 4 minutes?
It's tough. I always say, it's easier to be in a game than being on the bench. I was more nervous on the bench.
Do you feel like if you had been in the game, the outcome could have been different?
I feel, but, I have trust in my teammates. I think we played some good possession. I have believed that we were going to win the game. Obviously, having me out there, helps Kyrie a little bit more. So, obviously, I think it'll be a different outcome, but you never know.
So, it's not a coincidence that he sat there and was grilled for his behavior for about 5 minutes by ESPN the day after getting eviscerated for his actions.
Can we go back to Nick Wright texting Brian Windhorst to defend Luka Doncic? Like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Like, what if you're Windhorst, like, and you get that text, like, what do you think? Is like Nick Wright constantly badgering other people in the media who don't agree with his take?
And that's the thing, is that I would be like, I'm a reporter and you're not. You're an editorial guy. I'm a reporter, so get out of here. And 2, stop trying to, ride off my wave. I just don't understand. Like, if a guy reports something and you say, okay, there you go. He said that Luka Doncic hasn't played well. He's interested to see how Luka Doncic will play in Game 4 because what he did was unacceptable. And instead of just going like, oh, that's interesting, like the guy had some balls on him, what people do is that they go, well, I want a part of that. People are talking about it. I want to be a part of it.
But I get, like, Nick Wright, you got your own show. Like, go on and give your opinion and say Windhorst is wrong and that. Like, just the idea that he took the time to text. Yeah. I'm just wondering what that text thread looks like. And does Windhorst just tell him to go F himself?
I bet you. I don't think Windhorst got back to him. I don't know. I haven't investigated.
F you, stay in your own part of the world here. What you do has nothing to do with what I do. You're a talk show host. I'm a reporter. I'm paid to go get facts. You're paid to give opinions. I definitely know more about this situation than you do. I've actually talked to Mavericks officials. Right. I understand. I have the facts in front of me.
All right. Awful announcing. It was awful announcing. Who, if I get shot, are responsible because they blew up the whole Bill Walton thing. Whoever wrote that from awful announcing, when I die, it is your fault. And then you'll go, no, it wasn't my fault. But it's out there, and my family will blame you. Nick Wright reveals he texted Brian Windhorst to defend Luka Doncic over the NBA Finals postgame rant. I thought the table was set for Feast on Luka Day today in a way that was not fair to his performance or him fouling out. Again, it's because Windhorst, it's the only reason he did it and talked about it is because Windhorst everyone was talking about it. We played that clip. That's the third time on this show in 2 days I played the clip of Windhorst. I played it in the 6 o'clock hour yesterday, 6 o'clock hour today, and I played it another time yesterday. It's a great thing. Windhorst did a great thing. But instead of just talking about what he said, like shoving yourself in that's an act of desperation. Shoving yourself into that story by
right.
Nick Wright. I know, John. Jesus Christ.
I'm just trying to help, Fred.
All right.
You seemed like you were searching for it.
All right, Johnny. You calm down a little bit.
Okay.
Later in this segment, Wright's host Kevin Wildes pointed out that Windhorst's comments were based on reporting from around the Mavs and the rest of the NBA. He's not just popping up, but was taking a wealth of reporting. All right, there you go. So, yes, I mean, Windhorst is a reporter. He's not going to get on ESPN in a planned segment and go just start popping off about stuff he didn't hear. I mean, he's in Dallas covering the game. Malika Andrews works for ESPN, right?
Yep.
So she sat with Luka Doncic. I mean, ESPN's the rights holder. No, Nick Wright knows how it works. Windhorst is with the network. ABC has the games. You can't go on there. That would be like us making up a bunch of stuff about the Patriots, right? You know, when the Crafts are partners with this radio station, like making up stuff and having it go viral. You're certainly getting a talking to from the Crafts. If you made up a bunch of stuff and it was like this national news, oh, get out of here. He made it up. Oh, that's unfair to Luka. Get out of here. Multi-millionaire. Get out. All right, Johnny, what's coming up?
When we get back, you want to do Stanley Cup or you want to do Red Sox?
I want to do Stanley Cup because I want to ask Ryan about some things.
Okay.
Ryan, who could be very well the next voice of your Boston Bruins.
He's got the candidacy. It's out there. We've started it.
Well, we didn't. He started it.
The station has started. The station has picked up your candidacy and is pushing it through.
All right.
Does that help? So anyway, Stanley Cup Finals next.
Yeah. So Ryan is looking to get I don't know why they haven't done it already. I don't know what the holdup is. I don't know why you wouldn't just give it to Surratt the TV job and Ryan the radio job. I don't understand it. I would have done it already. I don't know what takes so long. But there you have it. It should be Ryan Johnson's. And everyone would be happy. No one would be upset. There you go. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics on the verge of Banner 18 will play Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight, up 3-0 over the Dallas Mavericks. Kristaps Porzingis officially listed as questionable Hear the game right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub and the BetMGM Celtics Radio Network. Pre-game at 7:30. Call of the game with Grandy and Max at 8:30. The Florida Panthers will have a chance to hoist the Stanley Cup for the first time in franchise history on Saturday night. Last night, they took a 3-0 lead in the Stanley Cup final with a 4-3 win over Edmonton. The new owners of the NHL franchise in Salt Lake City announced they have finalized the purchase of the Arizona Coyotes. They also announced the team will be known as the Utah Hockey Club for this coming season. Fan voting continues on an actual nickname. Red Sox had a 9-3 win over the Phillies last night at Fenway. They host the Yankees to start a 3-game set tonight. First pitch at 6:30. Brian Bayo on the mound. Patriots have now signed all of their draft picks as Jalen Polk, the second-round wide receiver, signed his rookie deal yesterday. The Jags gave Trevor Lawrence a 5-year contract extension worth $55 million a year. The deal could be worth a total of $275 million. And at the U.S. Open Round 2 about to get underway, Rory McIlroy, Patrick Cantlay tied for the lead, one shot ahead of the field at 5 under par. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by the Plumbers Local 12 and the Greater Boston Plumbing Contractors Association, providing top-quality plumbing and water safety for your next project. Visit healthstartswithplumbing.com. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines at 7 o'clock.
This is Kristaps Porzingis.
Left-hand dribble, lobs it. Porzingis catches with one hand and throws it down.
You're listening to the home of Boston Celtics basketball. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. What else is going on, Mr. Johnny Wallgame? You're sitting in a weird seat.
Game
You're
3.
all perched up in a weird place.
I'm sorry.
In a new cage.
Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals last night in Edmonton. The Florida Panthers visited the Oilers up 2-0. Panthers also had their best player, Fred, Alexander Barkov. We talked a little bit about this. He took a cheap shot to the jaw from Leon Draisaitl in Game 2, but Draisaitl wasn't suspended, and he was available, so it was essentially play on. For Florida, it's a good thing Barkov was available because he won them the game.
Pass out of the zone. Panthers on the move. It's Barkov to Rodriguez. Barkov in front. A low shot. And he scores! Barkov makes it 4-1 Panthers with 4:29 to go in the second. The captain streaks in alone, and the Panthers lead by a trio.
Barkov had a goal and an assist. Florida wins 4-3. Panthers scored 3 times in the second period to take a 4-1 lead. They hung on for the win. They now lead the Oilers 3-0. Connor McDavid a pair of assists, but he and Draisaitl scoreless during the series. Game 4 in Edmonton tomorrow night.
All right, Ryan Johnston is here for Hardy. Ryan, who does the hockey show, is very well could be the next voice of your Boston Bruins. Now, Ryan, if you look at the playoffs as a whole, the Panthers, unless it's happened before, what has happened 5 times in NHL history? Teams come back from 0-3.
It's happened once in the Cup Finals. That was like 1942.
Right.
And, of course, Philadelphia did it to the Bruins.
Yeah, so it's happened before. But say the Florida wins this, and they win it pretty handily. They win it on Hockey Night in Canada. It's fair to say the Bruins gave Florida the toughest test, right? So what does that mean for the Bruins?
I mean, it's tough to compare just because of different skill sets and whatnot. I've been overly impressed by Florida. I thought they were a good team. I didn't know that they were quite this good, but the way that they play the game is just, it fits what you need to do to win in the playoffs. And a lot of teams can't get to that gear. They don't have the ability to do this over the period of 2 months straight. I've been incredibly impressed by the way that Florida has approached things. I can't believe that they are shutting down the Edmonton Oilers the way that they are. It's been really impressive. And I also didn't think Bobrovsky had this in him. Now, what does it say about the Bruins? I mean, the Bruins are, I think they're a much better team this year than people gave them credit for. I think they, maybe take the last 2 seasons and the way that it ended and continue to build off of that going into the offseason. They're going to have to add guys who kind of fit this mold, I think. This is going to be, the NHL oftentimes copycat league. Somebody wins the Stanley Cup. Everybody kind of tries to do what that team did to be successful. Like, it's going to take adding some more guys with grit, some more guys with speed, It's a difficult task that they've got in front of them because and Florida's not going away anytime soon.
So basically in the NHL, if you go by Florida's method, it's like you almost sacrifice something from the regular season to win in the playoffs.
Yeah. You don't have to be the best team in the league during the regular season. You just have to get into the playoffs. And if you can build a team that is, that can play playoff style hockey over the period of 2 months, that's how you get to the cup.
Right. So because what Florida famously did is they traded high point talent for grit, correct?
Some of that, yeah. But even
that's how they got Kachuk, right?
But even the guys who are high priced talent kind of have that same attitude, right? You've got guys,
but high point talent. Like Florida traded. Who'd they trade for Kachuk? Huberdeau. What
right? Yes, Huberdeau,
Jonathan Huberdeau, and a defenseman, Mackenzie Weegar.
So they traded a guy that was a 100-point guy or something for Kachuk, correct? So
right, yes.
So if you go by this method, you're willing to give up regular season points for guys that don't put up those kinds of numbers but have playoff grit. High-end players that I said high price, not high-end. High-end players, you trade points for grit. Correct?
Right, but you also get a guy like Kachuk who's, can be a 40-goal guy, but also has the grit. I mean, that's,
He's like
that's
a Marchand
the ultimate ultimate combination is you want guys like that. You want guys like, Sam Bennett, who's, he's a tough guy, but he also has some skill and can put up 20-plus goals.
Right. Bennett was a high first-round pick, though, right? That didn't really pan out, so they got him as a distressed asset.
He was a 4th overall pick.
Right. So he was a distressed asset when Florida got him, correct?
Yeah. I mean, he was scoring single-digit goals back in Calgary.
Yeah.
Right. So basically that's how the Bruins have to build their team, is that you have to look at the playoffs. And so maybe during the regular season you take your lumps a little bit, you get into the playoffs, and that's where. And so it's a totally different game in the playoffs.
It is.
I saw a rumor, since we're talking about the Bruins in the future, I keep reading rumors about how Ottawa and New Jersey are interested in trading for Linus Ullmark, and they might be willing to give up a first-round pick for Linus Ullmark. Have you heard the same thing?
Sure, but it's all in Linus's hands. We don't know if either one of those teams are on the no-trade list. You would expect that probably Ottawa is, because who wants to go
Ottawa,
play there?
right.
But, is New Jersey good enough for him? I don't know. But
They got a good young core. They've been pretty good the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, but it's about geography too. It's about where he wants to be. There was the rumors about him potentially nixing a trade to L.A. because maybe it's too far away from home.
Well,
obviously that wouldn't be a problem with New Jersey. You'd be able
closer.
To grab a quick flight out of Newark and be home as quickly as you can.
If New Jersey's on his trade list, that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't want to live in North Jersey, Fred. It kind of smells.
How far? So where do they play? They play in
Newark.
Newark. Yeah, Newark is right by Manhattan. I mean, you don't have to live in Newark. You don't have to live in North Jersey.
Yeah, but you can't. You don't want to be. I mean, if you got to commute to practice every day, you don't want to be commuting from the city out to New Jersey. That's like a 2-hour drive.
How about where the Rangers play in Rye? People for the Rangers have to live in Rye and get a place in the city, so they have to get 2 places. There's nowhere convenient. Right. We talked about where the Mets play. The Mets, you got to live out in Queens. You got to live out around that area. So, I mean, if he has no Jersey on his no-trade clause, that's ridiculous. That means that there's, some real garbage. And wait until Utah has a team. Hachi-machi.
Well, they've got a team as of yesterday. It's official. Utah Hockey Club.
That's what I'm saying. You want to go play in Utah? My, oh, my. No, thank you.
The thing
you got to wear things over your nipples there at the strip club. Yes. Pasties.
Drink half-caliber beer.
Oh. I mean, there's a lot of weird rules. What, John?
I was just going to say the idea that a team would actually be willing to give up a first-round pick is news to me. And it smacks of desperation for a goaltender. But the other part of it is we were told that goaltenders, for whatever reason, aren't that valuable.
Yeah, well, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe when I see it.
The Devils have the 10th overall pick in the draft.
There's no way. There's no way. Because there's some people that said you'd have to attach something to Ullmark to get anything back. That you'd have to put Beecher into a trade to get anything in return.
I think if he was willing to go to a place like New Jersey, and New Jersey was able to extend his contract, have some talks with him before you made the deal, I think you could be, I'm not sure you get a first rounder from them, but you'd be approaching that. Because you're talking about potentially locking up your goaltender position for the next 5-6 years. I mean, he's just into his 30s. It's not like he's 35 and you're going to get the tail end of him. He's still going to be a really good goalie in this league, a Vezina caliber goalie, potentially for the next 4 or 5 years.
Well, then the Bruins would be set in the market because we've gone through the exercise of what goaltenders have gone for before, and it's nothing. These guys go for nothing, as John said. All right, we'll be back. Is Bert Breer coming in?
Oh.
Okay, we'll see. He's got 4.5 minutes.
Bert is scheduled to be here.
Yeah, we'll see. It's amazing to me how he gets here on the money or late every time. All right, we'll be back with Bert in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub. This is the flagship station of the Boston Celtics.
The Boston Celtics swarm the floor.
WBCFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. The Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight in Dallas. The Celtics trying to close out the Mavericks, leading 3-0. Kristaps Porzingis officially listed as questionable. Shams Charania said yesterday there is a realistic chance Porzingis could play tonight. You can hear the game right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. We got coverage beginning with a special 90-minute Celtics show at 6, 1 hour pregame at 7:30, and then the call of the game with Grandy and Max at 8:30. The Stanley Cup Final, Game 3 last night. Florida Panthers beat Edmonton 4-3 to take a 3-0 lead in that series. Panthers will play for their first Stanley Cup tomorrow night. Red Sox had 14 hits as they beat the Phillies 9-3 last night at Fenway. Take 2 out of 3 in the series. Now the Yankees come to town for a 3-game set starting tonight. First pitch set for 6:30. Patriots have all of their draft picks under contract after signing second-rounder Jalen Polk to a deal yesterday. The Jaguars give quarterback Trevor Lawrence a 5-year contract extension worth up to $275 million. Includes a $37.5 million signing bonus, $142 million fully guaranteed, plus $200 million guaranteed against injury. NFL yesterday stripping the Atlanta Falcons of a 5th-round pick, fined the team and GM for tampering with 3 players, including quarterback Kirk Cousins, who they signed in March. And the second round underway at the U.S. Open. Rory McIlroy, Patrick Cantlay tied for the lead. McIlroy is going to tee off in about a half hour. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by WellPoint, formerly Unicare. They've teamed with Charlie Coyle for First Responder Fridays. So do something kind today to thank our amazing first responders for keeping our communities safe. Thank you. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in about 30 minutes.
This is Al Horford.
Al Horford catching slam. Horford for 3.
You're listening to the home of Boston Celtics basketball, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Just take those old highlights off the shelf. I'll sit and watch them by myself. Today's QBs ain't got the same soul. I like that old-time TB12. Don't try to tell me that Mahomes is the GOAT. All that does is gaslight and gloat. In 10 years, Brady was already the best. I like that old-time TB12. Still like that old-time TB12. That kind of Brady just soothes the soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old-time TB12.
Hey, our Toucher and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us on YouTube, and if you do, search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and subscribe. You'll see that there is no Bert Breer here, and Bert Breer will come in and he'll go, "Oh, it sucks, the traffic."
Oh, no.
Well, that's right.
That's because he's never run into traffic before.
And it's like, what do you, like, we deal with it, like, too. What, you know, we're dealing with it, too. Like, every week you're late, and it's always the same thing. I don't believe there's traffic.
Oh, no.
I really don't. Like, there's certainly not as bad as it is the rest of the day. By the way, Tyler Milliken's cousin doing that great parody song as he is prone to do, not falling for cheap antics like his cousin, Tyler Milliken's cousin, who is Tyler Milliken's cousin's cousin.
Yes.
Is what Tyler Milliken is.
Yes.
But Tyler Milliken's cousin's cousin, Tyler Milliken, is
posing topless.
John.
Sorry.
John.
Okay.
John. Let's get there, baby. Let's
All
take
right.
the walk together.
Go ahead.
We don't jump ahead. Tyler Milliken's cousin's cousin, Tyler Milliken, is indeed resorting to cheap antics for views on the social media.
I can't believe you're calling nipples for triples cheap antics.
Well, I was unaware of this until Kendra Middleton was in, because she's 28 or whatever, how old she is, and she lives on social media. And she said, I can't get away from these videos or these pictures of Tyler Milliken and Tyler Milliken's cousin. Tyler Milliken, of course, Tyler Milliken's cousin's cousin. He is now taking his shirt off. He's got these big pepperoni nipples, and he's sitting there every time there's a triple by the Red Sox in order to get the kids interested. He's taking off his shirt. My advice to Tyler Milliken's cousin was don't be like your cousin and debase yourself like that. Stay true to what you are. By the way, we were talking about Nick Wright. Someone makes a really good point. Nick Wright going after Fatso McGee on ESPN for making fun of Fatso McGee on the Dallas Mavericks. Brian Windhorst. Brian Windhorst said a good thing about Luka after the game 2 nights ago. This guy James on Twitter says, Nick Wright is paid by Clutch Sports. I'm not sure if Luka is represented by Clutch. And then he comes back and says, Luka is in fact represented by Clutch Sports. That's why Nick went after him. LeBron pays these people to show for himself, push his narrative, and now the player is represented by him. He's super corrupt and is infecting the media. Nick Wright is represented by Clutch Sports, which is who does represent Luka Doncic. Why is Nick Wright on TV talking about sports?
Why is Clutch Sports involved in Nick Wright's career?
Because it's great. Because now you control the media, and the media will say whatever you want.
But you're controlling a media outlet that has like fewer viewers than this show has listeners.
That might be very true, by the way. That actually might be true, but these are baby steps. Like you get the Nick Wrights of the world, so you can get the Stephen A. Smiths of the world. Like you build a little client base before you get after the big game.
God.
But I mean, how can Nick Wright talk about anyone? Now I Googled it, Nick Wright Clutch Sports, and it's this whole thing. Like he has to, sometimes when he goes on shows, he has to disclose that he's represented by the same agency that represents these other players. It's insane. You don't think he ever has gotten a... All right, I just told you that we get calls sometimes by the Patriots.
Sure.
Like you guys said something. It doesn't affect how I talk about things. But you don't think Nick Wright has ever gotten a call from anyone? If Nick Wright's a client of Clutch Sports has a client that pays them 2,000 times as much money as Nick Wright pays them. You don't think Nick Wright gets a call from the agency saying, what the hell are you doing?
It makes complete sense, but go back to what Ryan just said. I mean, I don't think anyone's listening to him. When the fact that he texted him, you might as well be texting your third grade teacher. I mean, just for anyone who pays attention to him.
All right,
you know
John, but it's still, Nick Wright went after Windhorst, who went after Luka, and Nick Wright is represented by the same agency that might explain the behavior.
Sure.
Which seems like everything he says would be corrupted. You're late in here, Bert Breer, now. And
I am, yeah.
You're a senior NFL reporter and lead content strategist for the MMQB. You're in studio.
Are you represented by Clutch Sports?
Well, everybody's in bed with everybody now, right? Like,
don't you think that's odd, though? Don't you think if Nick Wright says something and he's represented by the same agency?
Do you guys know how much, like, these things exist? Like CAA is the best example.
Yeah, but
right?
CAA is
a monolith.
Yeah, is a monolith that has far greater interest than they have a sports division. Clutch Sports is LeBron James's agency.
But I believe Clutch is owned by UTA, right?
Is that a subsidiary?
I think Clutch might look that up, but I think that might be right. Okay. Anyway, it's the sort of like everybody's in bed with everybody thing now. Like there's. The two biggest agencies in football now are CAA, which owns everything, and Athletes First, which now like has bought all these coaching agencies, right? So they're coaching agents. They're big name coaches that are represented by an agency called Athletes First. So I mean, these sorts of conflicts exist everywhere.
But UTA bought an equity stake in Clutch.
Right.
So, all right. But Clutch is, Paul, it's Paul's company, and it's LeBron's company.
Right. So is Nick Wright represented by UTA, or is he represented directly by Clutch?
He's represented directly by Clutch.
Okay, so that's a little different then, yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, because that's
that's buying the media.
Exactly, because that's an agency that's exclusively, at least used to exclusively represent athletes.
So he's like LeBron James's like team website.
Exactly. You are a guy who's paid to, let's face it, insult athletes. That's what you're paid to do.
Right.
If you're on one of those shows, you're paid to insult athletes. That's the bottom line. You're not paid to praise them. You're paid to insult them, to put them in their place because they're rich and famous, and that's what people do now, is that we insult the rich and famous because we're jealous of them, myself included. And not as a rich and famous person, as someone who insults them for a living. but that's what you're paid to do. And then if there's a controlling interest that would have a problem with you insulting the very people that represent you, that's a conflict of interest. Wouldn't you say? Are you uncomfortable saying that? Are you uncomfortable saying that, Bert, because you're in bed with Nick Wright?
Am I?
No, I don't know.
No. I think it's important that in, like, a lot of, like, it's important in those cases that stuff's disclosed. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that can be really complicated, and it does exist. I mean, it exists in my business, like left and right. Like the CAA thing, I'm not represented by CAA, but a lot of people who do what I do are represented by CAA, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So there's always that question is, well, how many quarterbacks are repped by CAA? A ton are, you know? Josh Allen is CAA. Matthew Stafford is CAA. Peyton Manning for all those years was CAA. So,
name some of the people, some of the big-time writers that are repped, or TV personalities that are repped by CAA that are that cover the NFL.
I mean, Schefter is.
Okay.
So, like, I think Mort was. Like, it's common now, and I think these sorts of. The thing is, it's not going to affect the day-to-day. Like, in most cases, it does not affect the day-to-day. Now, if it's a small agency like that, we could be talking about something else, right? CAA is so massive, right? Like, they represent movie stars and athletes. And so, like, the guy who's representing you generally is not going to be the same guy who's representing the quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, generally. Now, I'm not saying it's never happened, but generally that's not going to be the case. Whereas, I guess if it's something like Clutch, like, and again, like, and I think that's where it's important. Like, okay, who's actually representing Nick Wright? Is it Rich Paul? If it's Rich Paul, then yeah, like, absolutely, because there's going to be.
But the odds are much greater that it is. That's the thing.
If it's a smaller right. And again, like, if you're saying he's represented by Clutch because he's represented by UTA, then that's different than
I don't
actually being represented by Clutch itself.
I think he's represented by Clutch itself.
Okay.
Yeah, because if there's, like, big agencies.
And why would you do that if you were, I don't know. That would be a weird move by him if he's got to go on and talk about those guys.
Because, but they can probably navigate you through there's a reason.
Yeah, I mean, for access is why you would do it, but, like, his job isn't even based on access.
No, but he might feel that,
like, my job is based on access. There'd be more benefit to somebody, like, who's in my position than there would be to somebody in Nick Wright's position.
Yeah, but Nick Wright also is on a network that no one watches, and we're talking about him right now. Like, that somehow got out. That he texted Brian Windhorst got out and got on our radar, and I would imagine that has something to do with his relationship with Clutch. Because Nick Wright is someone I would contend that no one watches. I didn't even know his name. I was calling him Jay Wright.
Calling him Jay Wright.
So I didn't even, and, like, I wasn't being cute or trying to be cool. Like, I didn't know his name. Like, I know what he looks like because he looks like a Dutch boy in Jesus combination. Like, he's got, like, a little Dutch boy haircut. But he's trying to take attention away from his lack of chin and big nose. Do you think that's true, Bert? That's why he's adopted this fashion with the beard and the long hair.
I think it's a fair theory.
In the three-piece suits.
I think it's fair theory.
He could have just gotten a nose job. Is that not true, Bert? All right.
How about Wendy? It's a great week for Wendy.
Yes.
I like that he did it. He used to be LeBron's bag boy. He used to just follow LeBron James around.
I mean, look, like, you know, we've all said that, like, and everybody thinks, like, he's, you know, a barnacle on the SS, you know, LeBron. And
he was. He covered him in high school.
But he's
followed him out from Cleveland.
But he's taking advantage of it, man.
It's the reason ESPN hired him in the first place.
It is, but he has taken advantage of it. Like, he has capitalized on the opportunity that was presented to him by that relationship.
I'm praising him for what he did, unlike the rest of the media.
I mean, if I remember right, isn't his mom is a teacher at LeBron's high school? Like, right? Like, he went to LeBron's high school.
He did go to LeBron's high school.
I think his mom had him in class.
I didn't know about the mother. Yeah. But do you think last night was the first time that people really looked at him seriously? His career is 15 or 20 years.
Yes.
Do you think last night is the first time that people took Brian Windhorst
No, because
seriously?
I think he's like,
for me, yes.
I think but like, there was that thing last summer where he was ahead of, was it the Gobert trade? The Rudy Gobert?
These could be facts, Bert, but John's asking the general public, is this the first time they took
the
him
general
seriously?
public maybe. Like,
yes, for me,
I think
yes.
he's like, I think he's pretty good at the job.
Well, now we're all on the same page. We're not arguing against you. You're just saying when it happened, and I can't argue.
But there's always that little piece where you're like, okay, where did this information come? He followed. Not only did he follow LeBron from Cleveland, L.A., he was with him when LeBron went to the Olympics. There was a reason for it, and that stain has been on him for 15 years.
Yes, and
last
so for
night
me,
was him
yes.
just giving an opinion that had nothing to do with LeBron.
Controversial.
Him quoting sources in another organization that had nothing to do with
I
LeBron.
agree with you, Jonathan.
And going after a guy who deserved to be gotten after.
And he deserves praise for that.
So, but
is what I'm saying.
I think everyone gets like if I like the two teams I covered on beats were the freaking Patriots when Tom Brady was here and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, if the two teams I had covered on beats were the Dolphins and the Cardinals, do you think my career would have gone the same way? Probably not.
I don't know what
Probably
you're defending.
not.
We're praising the guy.
Your situation.
You're defending a guy we're praising.
I'm just saying when you have your opportunity, you take advantage
Fine.
of it. You know?
We're praising a guy that you're defending a guy we're praising. I don't quite understand
And your
it.
situation
you don't
is
like the way
much
we're
different.
You don't like the way we're praising him. John said, I said Windhorst, that
you
was
said
great.
this is the first time he's ever been taken seriously.
By me! You can't get in my head. You're
okay.
arguing if this is me. Like, and if it was me, John obviously was thinking the same thing because he's the one who brought it up. I said, John, that's a good point. So John and I, if John and I think something that's our opinion, I mean, that's a fact.
And
it's the first time I took him seriously.
And the fact that you're defending him by trying to compare your situation to his, your situation is wildly different. But you didn't grow up in Ann Arbor and follow Tom Brady around, did you?
Yeah, that is true. I mean, you didn't, or even more so, you didn't grow up in Northern California and follow him too.
Yeah, you weren't in San Mateo, you weren't in Ann Arbor. You covered the guy when he got here.
All right? But what's more interesting is he's so hard up to defend
I covered
Windhorst.
him after he was here.
He's so hard. He's so hard up to defend Windhorst.
I'm
praising the guy.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
But devil's advocate to praise. If I was like Windhorst sucks, I don't like him, and you said, well, listen, that's not fair. He's done this, that, and the third. But John just said, when did you take him seriously? Was it a couple days ago? I go, yeah. And you're like, no.
He said people take him seriously.
Yeah, but John and I are people.
You weren't talking about you personally. He said, this is the first time people have taken him seriously. I'm like, no, actually, like
put a poll up.
He's been pretty good for a while.
Very good. But listen, the Rudy Gobert trade, I can't speak on. What do I know about the
But do you remember like the whole
No,
like,
I
thing
don't.
with the
No.
You know
He
what
was
I'm talking
ahead.
about.
He was ahead of the curve. I get that, but that has nothing to do with what I was talking about.
I don't remember. I think that's some inside
It was the
baseball.
it was the one where he's making the faces and it turned into the meme. Do you remember that?
No.
I don't remember that.
I
Where he
remember
did the
he ate
whole
himself out of pubic
well,
hair.
what if he went through this whole thing where nobody saw this trade coming, and he went through the whole thing. He's like, well, what if this and then this and then this, and then 3 days later, everything he said came true.
Great. He predicted something, but that doesn't take anything off of.
See, the problem is you guys aren't as locked into Twitter as I am.
You set the
I
record
had
for
to get
tweets
off.
in one day, my friend.
I had to get
Oh
off.
no, I'm bad. I'm not that bad.
No, you used to be though.
I'm bad. I am bad at Twitter. I'm getting wellness checks, but I'm on Twitter. I can't be on Twitter. Twitter's too immediate for me.
Deactivate.
The pause between putting the Instagram's good for me because it's a forced pause. You got to find a picture to put up. You can't just put your comments in.
Yeah, the picture's like the governor.
It's God's in the pause, my friend. You got to take that pause. That's
Do
the
I
governor.
really want to put this up?
Exactly. Like, is this funny or interesting? No. Is this going to serve me in any way except to be negative? No. There's nothing I ever put on Twitter. I was like, home run Fred the next day.
It's just too easy. It's like way too easy.
You need Twitter because you
My
break
job,
news, your job. But for me, as just like an entertainer, I bet there was never one thing I put on Twitter that the next day I went like home run, Fred. Like that was great. Like, wow, that needed to be said. Like, wow, what an insight or what a funny thing. Never, not once.
Every place I've worked, tells us, right? Every place I've worked, it tells us like our web traffic to our actual stories and our videos and everything else. Such a small percentage of it comes from Twitter.
That's what Finn says.
And I think the superpower of Twitter, like social media in general, but Twitter in particular, is whether things are good or things are bad, it makes having 30 people after you or praising you feel like 30,000. Right? Like
that's a great point.
I mean, like it could be 25 a-holes coming after you, and it can feel like there are 25,000 a-holes coming.
Yeah.
That's the superpower of Twitter, right?
That's a great point.
And that's where people can't. That's where a lot of people get in their head about and can't handle it, right? Like they can't handle it because it's like, oh my God, the world's after me. It's like, no. Like 3 people who are big enough losers to be at home on Tuesday at 2:30 in the afternoon are after you. No one else cares.
And that's a great point. And we got a break, but I'll contend this too, is that if you didn't grow up with that social media and that anonymity, at least for me, it was very difficult. I'll admit it. It was like I'm not evolved enough. Like it was I didn't compartmentalize it. It was very difficult for me to accept that people were saying stuff to you that they would never in a million years
say to your face.
Even if they were 10 times bigger than you and had a gun, they wouldn't say it to your face.
There's that whole thing about like the lessons of after you've been punched in the face.
Yeah.
Like, and there are a lot of people walking around in the world today who clearly have never been punched in the face.
Yeah. And I'll meet some people sometimes, and I'll be like, that aren't in media, and I'll go like, oh, how about these guys like on Twitter? And they'll be like, oh, I'm one of them. Like I've met guys who will like admit it, like I think it's funny, and I'll be like, okay. And I'll like the person, and I'll be like, oh boy, okay, this is a real thing. All right, we'll talk football with Bert. There is stuff to talk about, and did you know he's friends with the guy from Secession?
Oh, is that the first you've heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I only saw a couple episodes.
What
of
guy from Succession?
The main guy, like the
Jeremy Strong.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he was a year ahead of me at Lincoln Sudbury.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And then a year behind me was Chris Evans, which is like really wild. Really wild.
Chris Everett.
I guess our drama program was a little better than any of us thought.
Chris Everett is a cousin of a grandchild of John Wallach's. Chris Evans, Chris Everett. Hey now. All right, very good. We'll be back in just a moment. Hey, we're Dutcher and Hardy. Ryan Johnston's in for Hardy, who is going to wonderful East Lansing, Michigan, with his daughter today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
School visit?
I guess his friend's son is in the state championship baseball game, which happens to be at Lansing.
But it was going to double as that. I think he was taking her to Michigan State.
Is she? How old is she?
She's a
17.
junior.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's
Big
going into
party
her senior
school.
year. Yeah, Michigan State's super fun.
Yep. it
When
is.
I first,
way more fun than U of M.
Oh God.
Not
Yeah,
even close.
I saw something that there was like a ranking of like athletic
Oh, I saw that. And Michigan was like ahead of LSU and Ohio State, and I was like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?"
I got news for you. If you're going to Michigan to party, you're
going to the wrong place.
You're going to the wrong place.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, I just when I would go visit Michigan State because I went to a small college, and when I went to Michigan State, I'm like, wow, these girls will have sex with you, like they don't care because they like no one will ever know. Like so, I would go there, and I went there one time and had sex 2 times in 1 time each day with a different girl, and it was almost like inconceivable.
It was
like that this was
eye-opening.
happening.
I went to a small school in
Because
Western.
the thing about that, because I went to basically the twin of Michigan State,
Right.
is you can vanish right back into the crowd.
Well, that was so
And that's
important
a
for the
huge
girls.
part of it. Yeah.
And I didn't like it because I'm like, you were nice enough to have sex with me. Let's like hang out. And they were like, no.
That's the thing.
No, you have served your purpose.
No,
Yeah,
but
exactly. Like they wanted it more than me.
A similar experience. I went to a small school in Western New York State, and I went to Ohio State during Greek week my senior year. It was ridiculous. It was. I mean,
You get laid, Johnny boy?
yes, I did.
Johnny boy, getting laid.
It is. I would say Michigan is maybe of the 11 schools that were in the conference when I was there, might be the second worst party school, ahead of only Northwestern, because Northwestern's like, I mean,
Well, Wisconsin's
fun.
Indiana's,
Minnesota, I'm not as sure of. I went
Oh,
to
yeah.
a football game at Minnesota a couple years ago. It seemed fun. I don't know enough about it.
It's a city
Iowa
school.
is a complete bleep show, which
Yeah,
is like
yeah.
Really?
yeah, Iowa. Like
I bet you Iowa was sneaky
weird
easy to get
stuff. Weird
into.
stuff happens. In Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet you Iowa's sneaky easy to get into.
Yeah.
Like Iowa's like one of those.
A lot
schools-
of Chicago kids go because Iowa's only like the University of Iowa. I think is only 3 hours from Chicago, so a lot of Chicago kids go there.
Why would you go to Purdue? I got to assume
Purdue's not.
great.
Purdue's probably not. Yeah, Indiana's fun.
Indiana, yeah, that's
Indiana's a little
quasi
bit
Michigan though.
It's a little bit too. Yeah, it's a little too academic to
Yes.
to be that much fun. Penn State's fun.
Yeah, Penn State.
Penn State's in the middle of nowhere,
In
so
the-
it's exactly what you would think.
Yeah, I've been to Penn State.
Yeah.
Penn State was all right. Penn State was okay.
But
I
Michigan
didn't have a
State,
good
Michigan
time.
State is like when I was in school, when Ohio State people would hang out at Michigan State or vice versa, it was like it's basically like you're going to like a satellite campus.
Yeah. Yeah, Florida and Florida State, like Florida State, I think Florida State's they had a big
Florida
nursing
State-
school.
Florida State's talent is outstanding.
Yes.
It was 60% women, and
It's
Florida State
outstanding.
was insane.
Because I remember we went to our fraternity house at the University of Florida, and we were all blown away. And I would tell people the story of when we went there, and people from Florida would tell me Florida State blows Florida away.
When I went-
which was like jaw dropping to me because like I remember what Florida looked like, and then it's like wait, and then I was there for like Jalen Ramsey's pro day, and I went out for dinner on a Tuesday, right? Like so, like this is a random Tuesday in March or whatever. It was like, oh my God, we had whiplash sitting here. It was just like it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I went to my fraternity house at Florida, and it was like unbelievable. And you know who was Mark Long from the Road Rules, the original Road Rules fraternity in the University of Florida SIG app.
Okay.
Kaboom.
Okay. Let everybody stew on that for a little bit.
That was a mic drop moment, I think.
Yeah. I believe that's who it was. But one of the guys from the first Road Rules was on it, the blonde guy that hooks up with the chick.
There are more people in this room know who you are, Fred, than the person you just referenced.
Road
Yeah, you were
Really?
the more famous of the people in that
Yes.
room. Yeah.
I guarantee you
Mike
that
just said that. He's like, there's more people.
You are more famous than the guy you just talked about.
He tells that guy tells that story and says, Fred Toucher.
No.
That's exactly
Thank you,
right.
Ryan.
So years
Road
later,
Rules was a generational thing that was very exciting. He
you
was
are
a
more
handsome
famous
guy.
than the guy who just talked about. Yeah,
I am. Well, maybe now, but not then.
Well,
He hooked up with Kit.
Our Florida house. We went and
The
hung out.
car?
Wow.
No, he
That's
did have sex with
impressive.
the car, though.
We went and hung
Monte
out with,
Carlo.
We went and hung out with the Florida Fidels when we were on our way to spring break one year, and years later I found out that night that we hung out there and we stayed there in Gainesville, I actually partied with Jeff Darlington. We figured this out like so many years later when we were working together that because he actually remembered the Ohio State Fidels coming in.
Okay.
And so that would be my version of what's his name from Road Rules.
Exactly my point. What's his name from Road Rules?
His name is Mark Long.
Okay.
And I'll have you know that he was a big deal.
Okay.
He's older than me.
All right.
I think he was a fifth-year kid. Don't worry about it. They had a jacuzzi. I just remember they had a jacuzzi, and I was like,
There were
ooh.
some. I mean, I do remember some of the people from those shows, though. Like, remember CT from Real World?
Yo, do I?
CT?
CT does the Kroll show.
Does
CT?
he?
Oh, yeah.
Love
They have him on
CT.
as a joke. Yeah, CT is a real piece of garbage. Wait, CT went to college?
Well, no. I'm saying like I remembering. I'm just saying I couldn't remember who you were talking about, but I was like I do remember some people from those reality shows, and CT was definitely the best example of that.
All right, very good. They used to be big stars. You guys
Was he
just don't
Paris?
remember.
Was that right? Real World Paris?
No, Real World Paris was terrible. Real World London was terrible too.
According to this, he was on Real World Paris.
Oh, okay. I thought he was
because
Vegas.
there was that guy who was like real kind of like wimpy looking, and CT picked on him the whole time. I think.
All right.
And then wound up like beating him up. I think.
Well, when you first started coming on our show is when Jersey Shore premiered.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
remember
We talked about Jersey Shore a lot. I was a huge fan.
And then people were like, you shouldn't talk about Jersey Shore. Like, my program director was like, you shouldn't talk about Jersey Shore this much. And I'm like, no, I really should. Like, I assure you.
They're still doing shows. Like, something popped up on my Instagram or whatever. Like, they're still, like they're still making money off of that, right?
The Situation has got a book. He has reclaimed his life after having to go to federal prison. It is a memoir.
Oh, I thought the Situation was fiction. No,
it's their murder mysteries. They're Agatha Christie inspired murder mysteries.
It took him a while. He needed to develop the plot further.
But he tells stories about how he would get Percocets. He said he was taking like 40 perks a day, and that he had a guy at a tanning salon while he was on the show, and they knew it. So he had to like finagle him. So he had a guy at a tanning salon that when he would get in there, in like the towel that they would hand him would be the whatever term it is for the Percocets that he would get. And he would do that over and over again. And then finally one day they're like, we're following you to the tanning salon. And so he's like, all right. And he was driving with like two other people in the car. And he says he was going about 10 miles an hour. He opens up the driver's door and just gets out and starts running. Goes in the tanning salon and goes like, gimme. Takes him, like goes in the bathroom. They're knocking on the bathroom door and he just like inhales the drugs and then comes out and it's like, what? Like
Can't take them now. They're in my body.
Yeah, exactly. Navigating, like, yeah, and he's like, go, can search me. And they're like, no. But navigating that kind of drug problem while you're being filmed constantly has got to be a little bit of an issue. He said he would take supplements, like these capsuled supplements, and painstakingly pour them out, grind down the Percocets, and put the Percocets into the capsule, seal them back up, and put them into back into the packaging.
Wow.
And so he would go in, but he would run out of them because he would be like, I'm going to only take 10 a day. And then he would be like, well, that's over. Like, I'm going to take like 1 million. Because like when you have I would imagine when you have a big jar of Percocets, it looks like your eyes are bigger than and you're like trying to guess how many are still left in there, and then the next thing you know, they're
that'll
gone.
last me for the whole summer. 3 days later.
Yeah, talking to a drug dealer, it's like a drug addict about how they know drugs are around is fascinating because I've never bought drugs except for weed from a drug dealer. So, and that was only a couple times because I never had a drug problem. Mm-hmm. But the that like way of navigating stuff, like that they can go into a bar that you're in and like immediately like tell like this guy's got coke or this guy's got heroin. Like they have like a sixth sense to them. It's very impressive. Very impressive. It's like where I know there's a bathroom. You know. We just discussed it. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's a sixth sense.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying. All right. Bert Breer's here. I swear to God, we'll talk about football. There's so much to talk about. Trevor Lawrence just got a big deal.
Jerry Jones is a dumbass.
I was enjoying the Jersey Shore conversation.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess we can always
think
go back to that.
anytime
sure.
I can tell stories of the situation that I heard him say on
I
YouTube.
did not know he has a book. What's the name of it?
I don't know, man. I'm not going to read it, but I imagine it's 180 pages, as these things tend to be. I'd imagine the print with pictures, and the print I would imagine is fairly large. I know exactly what. Dude, I read Bobby Blotzer from Rat's biography. I'm not above it. I don't even know what Matt wants to do. Matt, go ahead, real quick.
Hey, guys, just wanted to let you know, I heard you talking about CT. I used to play a lot of basketball with them back in the day over at Latitude and Methuen. From what I could tell, he was a regular guy on the courts, but he was a beast athlete. I don't know what cycle he took, but if we were all probably D3 level, he was like a D1 athlete out there. Yes. He had pretty good handles, too, so I already thought about him. He seems like a regular guy, but, I mean, I definitely could see a psycho side to him. I don't think that was an act for MTV.
Yeah, CT was not a regular guy. In fact, he has developed a career around being a prick. So
wasn't that that became his whole thing, on whatever it was, The Challenge and all those shows, right?
There's a Kroll character called Bobby Bottle Service, who's this Italian guy who's all the Bobby Bottle Service, and they the search. It's the Ed Hardy boys, the search for the missing belt buckle. It was a thing that they did, and they would have CT as part of their crew, and it was the real CT. In our crew, CT. It was Peter Paparazzi, Bobby Bottle Service, and CT. And it was really CT. All right, very good. We will talk about football finally in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics will try to clinch Banner 18 tonight. Game 4 of the NBA Finals in Dallas. Boston up 3-0. Kristaps Porzingis is officially questionable for tonight's game. We'll have it right here on 98.5, the Sports Hub and the BetMGM Celtics Radio Network. Pregame starts at 7:30. Call of the game with Grandy and Max at 8:30. The Florida Panthers are a game away from the state.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. Brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Trevor Lawrence is now, what is he, tied for the highest paid
He's right there with
quarterback?
Burrow.
Yeah, him and Burrow. And it's interesting because there is a line of thought I've heard that he's only getting paid this amount of money because he is in Jacksonville. And then they give the example of Daniel Jones versus Trevor Lawrence's statistics.
Yeah, I don't know if that's real fair.
Well, Daniel Jones, if you want to know, completion percentage over the course of his career is 64%. Lawrence is 63%. He's got more TDs than Lawrence. He's got a better, he's got some better statistics, or the same. Basically, Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence statistically are about equal. If you go just by statistics, They both played in a playoff game. Is Trevor Lawrence getting this contract because he's in Jacksonville? If he was playing in New York, would he have gotten this contract?
No, I don't think that's why. I mean, I think he's getting this contract because of what he can be still. And because I think there's an acknowledgement that he's been through a lot in his first 3 years. The Urban Meyer year was obviously a complete dumpster fire. Last year, a bunch of things went wrong. But the year in between, he looked really good. And I don't know that Daniel Jones has had moments like the playoff game that Trevor Lawrence had against the Chargers. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Where it's just like, yes, that's who we think he's going to be. And so, I at no point watching Daniel Jones thought, this guy can be a top 5 quarterback in the league. I think watching Trevor Lawrence, you have gotten those flashes. Now, they haven't been anywhere near consistent enough, but we have at least gotten those flashes. And he has won a playoff game in Jacksonville, which is not the easiest thing to do. And I know Blake Bortles did it, 6-7 years ago, but not the most common thing in the world. And I think in this case, you're paying for what you think he's going to become.
And that's where
and you're doing it 2 years early, too, which helps.
Then that's where the contracts are going. That's what quarterbacks, it's the evolution of the contracts that have been given out before him anyway, right?
Now, that's the thing is, now who's the real winner?
Well, that's
the real
the thing.
winner
Dak Prescott is the real winner.
Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa.
But Dak really should be the next guy up, and it gets back to what I said before the break. Jerry Jones, and we talked about this last week when you were here. He has 3 massive contracts that he has to do, and every minute he waits, he loses more money.
And they keep stepping on that rake, and it's happened before to them, where it happened to them with DeMarcus Lawrence, it happened to them with Zach Martin, it happened to them the last time with Dak Prescott, where they had to pay more. And I sort of think, I think they're going to pay CD. I think they're going to pay Micah. I don't think those guys are going anywhere. Dak, to me, is a little more interesting. And I'm starting to wonder, are they right now where the Rams were with Jared Goff going into 2020, where things could go either way? Now, that doesn't mean he's going to be gone after this year, because part of Jared Goff being gone is Matthew Stafford fell out of the sky. You know what I mean? So you don't know if that type of opportunity is going to present itself. Also, what if Dak Prescott does not what Jared Goff did in that last year, but what Joe Flacco did in his last year in Baltimore?
Dak, he just led the NFL in touchdown passes last year. I mean, he can have a slightly off year from that and still be worth $60 million.
And that's the whole thing about the Cowboys is that's the thing about Parcells said that thing about Dallas being the NFL's main stage, right? Everybody else is a lounge act, and then the Cowboys are the main stage for the NFL. Think about this, how many coaches win 12 games 3 years in a row and are basically talked about they're on the maybe they shouldn't have a job anymore?
Right. Yeah.
Mike McCarthy's won 12 games 3 years in a row. So all of that, I think all of that, we're talking about degrees, and Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott have done a pretty good job together over the last 3 years. Yet there's the championship drought. And this is the most amazing number. So they have, over the last, since 2007, I looked this up. Since 2007, they are the 6th winningest team in the NFL, right? 6th winningest team in the NFL. Yet they have the 4th longest championship game drought in the league. So they're not bad. They're like,
Right.
in fact, they're like really good. They're one of like the winningest teams of the last 2 decades, and yet like the only teams that have longer championship game droughts than them are the Lions are off that list now.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Commanders, the Dolphins, and who am I missing? The Commanders, the Dolphins, and one other. And if you want to count the Browns, which it's not even the same franchise. You know what I mean? Like we're counting that long as because the Browns became the Ravens. You know, so it's a weird thing where they've been really good, but they haven't put it over the top. And you know, I think that's what creates things like, and of course, the stage that they're on too.
All right. What did people think of the whole Brady situation?
What did you think of the whole Brady situation?
I thought it was boring, but it wasn't for me. It was for, people to get nostalgic about a great time in their lives.
Yep.
And I thought it was too long, but again, it wasn't for me. And I thought it was weird timing.
I thought it was too. I thought if you put it together, the timing was just 6-12, whatever.
But the timing to give Bill Belichick a 5-minute, 2-minute, whatever standing ovation, and
well, see, I think that was a result of the dynasty.
Yeah, I know, but that you just fired him, like that you're bringing a guy back that you just fired for like a historical remembrance trip down memory lane, and it's like, well, you just fired him.
Well,
he was in the building 2 months ago.
What are you going to do? Not invite Bill Belichick to Brady night?
No, maybe not have Brady night this offseason. Have Brady night next offseason.
And I think that's the whole thing we've talked about letting things breathe, right? Like, which is why The Last Dance was better than the Dynasty. The Last Dance was good because everybody had 30 years to let it breathe. In fact, I think like if you watch the Dynasty, I think I've said this to you guys before, the guy who I thought was best in the Dynasty was Drew Bledsoe. And why? Because he's had 20 years personally.
That's removed from
he hasn't like lived in this in forever. So he's had time to let it breathe. He can make fun of himself now. You know what I mean? Like it's not eating him alive the way it is for some of these guys still. So I think that very clearly is an issue, is that these things haven't had enough time to breathe. I think the region very clearly sent a message to Belichick, which was, we have your back. And, I thought about this a lot, like with the Kraft thing. Like, what'd you guys think of the reception he got?
It wasn't, it was striking how much different it was from what Belichick got.
I don't get why so many of these owners are so needy for that sort of thing. And that to me is why, this is going to sound weird. That to me is why, maybe my favorite owner in the NFL, and I personally, I don't really know him that well at all, but my favorite owner in the NFL might be Steve Bisciotti with the Ravens. How much do you guys know about him?
Not a lot. All I remember from Steve Bisciotti is after they won their last championship, him hugging Ray Lewis from behind like they were boyfriend and girlfriend.
So
it was weird.
Steve Bisciotti does not care about getting credit. You never hear from him. He thinks all of the politicking that goes on at the owners' meetings is a bunch of BS. He barely shows up to that stuff. He bankrolls everything, so they're really well funded, but he stays out of everything, right? He to me is the guy who gets it the best. He's the guy. He completely says, "I want to know why you're doing it. I if things go wrong, I need an explanation, and I'll be here. But I'm going to treat this the way I would one of my other business. You guys do the job."
He kind of looks like he had a pretty good life. If you're Robert Kraft and you're whatever, and you grew up in the region and maybe you weren't the coolest guy in the world, and then you buy a team and you have all this success, you got to think, this is my theory with John Henry, is that when John Henry bought the team, he's like, if we win a World Series, can you imagine? He's fantasizing about it. If we win a World Series, can you imagine what it's going to be like
what
for
a
us?
Hero I'm
We're going to be heroes. And then he wins 3 and everyone craps on him. So he's like, you guys, your expectations are out of control. Screw you. I think the reason that these guys buy the teams is because they want to be adored. This is the way that they're going to be adored. They've achieved all they can financially. They've realized that runs out, and there's only so much that can be gleaned.
No one roots for owners.
But there's only so much happiness that can be gleaned from earning all that money. So now they want public adulation, and then they realize that that's fleeting too. It's got to be and so you just keep having these events to put yourself in front of a bunch of people, hoping that you'll get that rush again.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting because, I don't think, it's that whole thing we talked about with their legacy and how fickle the legacy of the owner is. You know what I mean? Like, and I mentioned to you guys that thing with Jerry and that thing with DeBartolo, right? Like, what people remember about DeBartolo isn't the championships. And when I was a kid, you guys remember this? Like,
yeah, he was the best.
He was the gold standard, right? Like,
yeah.
he was the gold standard. And yet, what most people remember him for now is like that riverboat scandal in Louisiana, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jerry, what most people think of with Jerry, despite having made the Cowboys the most valuable sports franchise on the planet and winning 3 championships, what everyone remembers him for is screwing up that dynasty and the breakup with Jimmy.
Right.
It's just, I just feel like with a lot of these guys, if you get into it for that, to be a celebrity, to be adored, like Fred said, like, that's just not what that position is.
No, you're always the billionaire owner, and you're always separate from us. All right, Bert Breer, thank you so much. We appreciate the time. Bert Breer, read him in the MMQB. We'll be right back with Adolfo.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports.
Series lead with a 4-3 win over the Oilers. The Panthers will try for their first Stanley Cup in franchise history tomorrow night. Red Sox took 2 out of 3 over the Phillies, including a 9-3 win last night at Fenway. Yankees are in town to start a 3-game set tonight. First pitch at 6:30. Jalen Polk has signed his rookie deal. That means the Patriots now have all of their draft picks under contract. The Jacksonville Jaguars signed quarterback Trevor Lawrence to a 5-year contract extension worth up to $275 million. Includes a $37.5 million signing bonus, $142 million fully guaranteed, another $58 million guaranteed against injury. The NFL yesterday stripped the Atlanta Falcons of a 5th-round pick and fined the team and their GM for tampering with Kirk Cousins and 2 other players this spring. And the second round underway at the U.S. Open. Rory McIlroy and Patrick Cantlay are tied for the lead. McIlroy is on the course as we speak. Cantlay will play this afternoon. Headlines brought to you by Boston Vision. Go where Gerard Mayo went for his LASIK surgery. Visit the eye pros at Boston Vision. Book a free evaluation today at bostonvision.com because your best vision is Boston Vision. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in 30 minutes.
If you've got the app, you've got Spirited Sports Talk.
I have one ear and I got that.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Yeah.
All right, we're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us every morning on YouTube. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and subscribe to keep up to date. Adala Gonzalez, you just heard him there.
There's a Wendy's here?
Exactly. Everyone loves Adala Gonzalez. If you're somehow very new to the show, when this show first started on WBCN, we brought a kid from Dallas, Adala Gonzalez, at the time 19 years old. He did not know how to mail a letter. He put a 1-cent stamp on a letter, and he goes, "Why'd this come back?" And you said, "Well, it's 1 cent. That's more stamps or more." And he goes, "No, there's a stamp on it." And he said, "Well, the stamps are more than that." And he goes, "Oh, I just thought you paid what you thought you should pay. It was the honor system."
I had no idea how the stamping system works. I just thought you put a stamp.
Save that. Okay, there you go. There you have it. That's it. I didn't know we had that clip. Mike Lockhart, Johnny on the spot. He didn't know how the stamping system worked. He's a guy that told us that his power went out and how much of a pain in the ass it was. And then it was revealed to us a week later that he had watched a man die in front of his building, getting electrocuted by a wire. And
man was on fire, running
on
through
fire, going, "Kill me, kill me, kill me!"
Yes,
in front of Adolfo, and Adolfo did not mention that to us.
Kept that to himself.
Yeah.
He had to keep that to himself.
The first time I ever met Adolfo, we were filling in. Mike Flynn and I were filling in for you guys, and Adolfo was phone screening for us, and it took, I think, 2.5 hours before we realized, because somebody texted in that they had just seen Adolfo being interviewed on the Channel 4 News that morning. He had stopped at Dunkin' on the way in, and Dave Robichaux was there doing a story and man on the street thing and interviewed Adolfo. Adolfo failed to mention that to anybody when he got there. So we had called over to Channel 4. Hey, can you guys send us the audio? What you guys ran this morning?
Adolfo didn't. Yeah, that's it. That was perfect. Adolfo, there's. Why would I tell you?
Yeah.
I'm on the radio now.
Adolfo, did you get interviewed on the news this morning? Yeah. Like it happened every day.
I'm famous. I'm famous, you prick.
So many stories about Adolfo moving from one apartment to another, from Brighton to Cambridge, but instead of renting a truck or getting a buddy with a pickup truck, he decided to take his belongings over in one shopping cart at a time with 2 wheels. And it was about a 7-mile walk each way. And he did it over a period of 3 or 4 months instead of maybe one day.
The best part about that TV story was Dave Robichaux freaked out when he figured out it was Adolfo. He's like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Adolfo." He's like, "You're not the Adolfo." He's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Wait, you're really Adolfo?"
Yeah, when Adolfo first started, the guy who worked with Jimmy Barron in Atlanta was like, "I thought you had a show." And I'm like, "I do." And he's like, "Well, I thought you were the point guy." And I'm like, "I am." And he's like, everything that you guys have on the internet is about this kid Adolfo. He's like, it's the Adolfo show. And then I realized I was so fascinated by Adolfo because he was like he was 19, but he had been exposed to like nothing. Like he didn't know how to mail letters. He didn't know how to pay bills. He had never had, like, he worked kind of at Burger King like for a minute. Like he didn't know how anything worked. So I would get so organically fascinated by him. Our show would just devolve into the Adolfo show for a long time, and I couldn't help it. It probably wasn't for the best, but Adolfo's fantastic. He's in Dallas, Texas, and as your fabulous Boston Celtics could be playing for the championship tonight. They could win the championship tonight in Dallas. We had our own Adala Gonzalez, who's doing very well. We talked to him yesterday live on the air. He said that it's not great at Dallas. He said it's not great. He said he wants to come back.
Yeah.
And then I said, I'll fly you back. And he goes, okay, well, there's a hardcore festival going on in Worcester. You can fly me up for that. It's like, well, thanks, Adolfo. Yeah.
You're not good enough to come visit alone.
There's a festival,
event.
60 miles away that I want to attend. Okay, well, very good. But Adolfo will come up. He'll come up this summer. I'll let him stay with me. And his request was just a Red Sox game, which I can do. That I can do.
Yeah.
The Hardcore Festival, and I'm not going to that one. And apparently he shouted out some Doughboys podcast with the guy from the show Love on it. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, at the beginning when he was throwing out that whole Quincy stuff, I got a couple of text messages about that. That it was a certain specific podcast he was referencing.
Yeah, it's called Doughboys.
Doughboys,
and there's the fat guy from Love, the show Love is on it.
Gotcha.
So very good. Very good. All right, and I think he would describe himself as fat, as he is on one called the Doughboys. All right, here we go. Adolfo, one we didn't get to yesterday. Him after Game 3 in Dallas, Texas.
It's okay we use this for the radio?
Yeah, this is okay if it's on the radio.
Okay, now what do you think about tonight's game?
I'm a little upset, but it's okay. I hope the Mavs can go to Game 5 at least and win on Game 4. Mavs in 7, inshallah. Pray on it. Just pray for the Mavs, inshallah, okay?
What do you think about Boston's obsession with Kyrie Irving?
If we can win Game 4, inshallah, and we can get to Game 5, Kyrie really has to prove himself that he's able to beat Boston at Boston, you know? Because I feel like, I don't know, I'm really messed up, but I feel like I don't know if Kyrie did good or not.
Okay. Well, this is not someone that is drunk. This is someone that seems to be on some disassociated drug
I was just saying,
or
influenced
hallucinant.
in another way.
Yeah, this is a man who is he's confused. He doesn't know what dimension he's in right now.
At least he knows it's 7 games. The girls yesterday thought they're Mavs at 8.
Yeah.
Game 8. I'm calling into question.
Push it to Game 8.
There was 2 girls on yesterday. They were saying 8 games, and I can understand not knowing it's a 7-game series. Even. That's the problem I have.
Yeah.
Just your basis of math. Just you knowing that 8 games makes no sense.
They're going to share the championship to 2 teams. You just play 8, be even, and then everyone's happy.
Don't laugh. It's going to go to the 8th game.
Yeah, right.
But the thing is...
How many games do you think this is going to go to?
It's going to go to the 8th game.
Yeah, the thing is that I bet you they were super hot. All right, here we go.
All right, now, if you can say anything to Boston, what would you say?
I'm going to New York on Monday. Pray for me.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
Here come the tears.
Yeah. Oh boy. He's praying. He's seen God. This might be the first time there's someone legitimately tripping on a broadcast that we've done. This is fascinating. Good for Dallas. Taking acid and going into the game. We're just a collection of molecules, man. Pray for me, man. I can tell there's something bigger. There's a force called love.
I'm going to New York on Monday. Pray for me. Pray for me because I'm trying to follow my dreams. I'm trying to be a writer and I'm trying to be a boxer.
Yeah! A writing boxer! I wanted to be a cowboy lawyer! Yay!
Didn't he answer like a pop-up ad? Isn't that how that happened?
I wonder if Adolfo feels like he's on acid now because he's meeting himself from 20 years ago.
A writer boxer.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah! Sounds legit.
It's the evolution. A cowboy lawyer to a writer boxer.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yep. This sounds about right. Follow your dream. I went to Boston as a cowboy lawyer. Stamps aren't a cent. That I can tell you. And if someone dies in front of you, tell the gang.
I'm going to New York on Monday. Pray for me. Pray for me because I'm trying to follow my dreams. I'm trying to be a writer and I'm trying to be a boxer in New York City. I'm just trying to do.
You're a double. Oh! Yeah! Screw college. It's for chumps. Why go to a trade school? Do 2 professions easy peasy. Author, boxer, no problem. Sounds like a plan.
I'm just trying to do. I'm so lit right now.
Yeah.
I'm so lit right now. I love this team with the bottom of my heart. And I'm a true Mavs fan. Yeah. So it hurts. It hurts to see them lose. But if we can push this series to 7, inshallah, we will make. This is our city, Dallas, Texas. I love y'all. Garland, Texas. It's gang in this bitch. I already lost my voice in the last series. I'm losing my voice right now. Hey, you are. Let's go. But hey, I love the Mavs. This is my city, Dallas, Texas. Garland, Texas. It's gang in this bitch.
That's why you got a guy in Dallas.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot just drunk, angry Boston fans for decades.
Pray for me. Pray for me because I'm trying to follow my dreams.
We've had drunk, aggressive fans for 2 decades, and finally it took going to Texas to find a passive, crying guy on acid.
It hurts.
It does hurt. This guy, you're speaking my language. This is my home. That's like Adolfo meeting himself. I wonder if he time traveled, if it is true that hallucinogens can break down all these barriers between us. Well, Dan Roche is out in Dallas, Texas.
It hurts.
It does hurt. He is out there. Dan, did you baptize your son in the bathroom at Cooperstown?
It hurts.
Yeah, it does hurt. You have to. Your son has just gotten married, and your daughter is getting married to someone with the same last name. Did you know that, Ryan?
I heard that the other day.
Yeah. Dan Roche's daughter is naming someone last name Roche.
The hesitation when you asked him if they could possibly be related, there was that little tinge of, my God, I haven't researched this enough.
Would you, if your daughter was marrying someone with with Wallach, the same last name, would you not have them get a genetic test?
I would really wonder what the hell was going on. Yes,
because I've had friends that were both Jewish, from whatever region of Russia or whatever, have to get genetically tested because there was some genetic disorder that you can pass on to your kids.
I don't know how common a name Roche is. It's not like Smith or Williams.
Yeah, sure, Williams or Johnson or something.
I know another Dan Roche. So,
whoa,
interesting.
But maybe they're related. Maybe they're the same guy.
Oh.
And maybe
time traveled.
Maybe the other Dan Roche is a boxer writer.
It hurts.
In New York City. What are the chances are that guy actually is going to New York City?
0.
I'm going to guess that's it.
Fred, he's living his dream to become a boxer writer. Of course he's going.
He traveled in his mind.
And, oddly enough, he wound up right back in his bedroom in his mother's house.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Pray for me.
Yeah.
Pray for me because I'm trying to follow my dreams.
I will. I'll get on my knees and pray this evening. All right, Dan Roche will join us in just a moment.
Yeah.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sport.
the table and finish him off. But I'd really like to see them clinch it here.
I mean, just give us a little bit more basketball. The grousing from the national media too. I mean, it's not grousing about the Celtics. It's grousing about Dallas. Like Dallas, just you didn't come to play. What a fall for Luka Doncic, as we're so looking forward to seeing real stars in this finals, and between Kyrie in Boston and Luka in Game 3. Luka's statistics, by the way, I think he has 8 points total in the fourth quarters of the first 3 games.
I think this series ultimately makes Luka a better player. I think he learns a lot from the beating that he's taking nationally for his performance in this series.
Yeah, he's gotten away with a lot of crap in Dallas and relative anonymity, but people see the kind of player he is. The fact that he complains to the referees, that's gone on for most of his career. He's always been like this, but here he is on the big stage, not playing defense and waving his arms while the Celtics play 5-on-4 at the other end. Now, now it's go time. Now people understand.
Dallas didn't have shoot-around yesterday. They said they were just doing film, and I do wonder if Jason Kidd, who is a competitor, and Jason Kidd is a Hall of Famer and just was like, all right, we're going to sit down and watch this in front of Luka. Like, we're going to watch film all together, and I'm going to call you out, because now would be the time to do it. Like, what are you protecting your job? If I'm Jason Kidd, I don't care.
The players, after talking with Jason Kidd, stepped in front of the media. We played the clip earlier. A rookie, Derek Lively, said, we really can't pay attention to the refs. That's a direct shot at your star. So I'm sure as a team they came together, and it was basically dump on your star player, you're letting us down.
And it also shows that the best way to win a championship might be not letting your star run the whole operation. That the Celtics being this kind of a team. Yeah, Dan, you're here. I just am going on and on and on. All right, Dan.
Hello? Am I on? I am so lit right now.
That's right. You and Adolfo. Have you seen Adolfo? Have you reached out to Adolfo now that you're in Dallas, Dan Roche?
I don't have his number or anything. If you can send it to me, Fred, I will, definitely.
This is day 5 of you in Dallas?
Yes, day 5.
What have you been doing?
Nothing.
What have you just been standing in front of the arena?
Basically, yes. Inside, so at least it's hot as heck here. But it's
true or false. Have you eaten at the same restaurant all 4 days?
No, it's pretty good for me, isn't it?
All right, what have you had? Where have you ate?
I can't remember. I went to the same place twice. One place twice across the street. A place called City Tavern. Good people. Had last night I had a chicken Caesar wrap with a house salad, and I had a small French fries next to me, which I shouldn't have had, but it was good. And it was good. I was with my photographer, Terry McNamara. Had a good time. Watched the NHL Stanley Cup playoff game. So been there twice now. Went to a barbecue place that was really good.
How many chicken fingers? How many orders of chicken fingers have you had?
Just one so far, Fred. The first night. But I had a place called the Pecan Lodge, which was really good barbecue food. So had some brisket up right at Brian's Alley. So it was good.
All right, very good. I didn't. What? Dan O'Brien's Alley?
No, I think he's
Ryan.
Oh, Ryan's Alley. Yes, Ryan
Johnson. He's always got those pictures of smokers and everything he puts on his barbecue food.
Would you like to endorse Ryan Johnson to be the voice of your Boston Bruins?
Heck yeah, he's awesome.
There you go.
Another endorsement. Appreciate it, Roche.
Everyone's endorsing Ryan Johnson, as he should get at least one of the jobs. If they put Surratt in the TV job, Ryan should get the radio job. Don't you think, Danny Roche?
Yes, I do think, Freddie Toetcher, I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Boy, you've been listening to the
Wow, how long have you been up?
He's on Central Time, too. He was up early.
5 in the morning you were up?
I've been up, ready. I got notes written. I got everything ready to go. I'm good. I'm looking for a big celebration tonight, so I'm good.
Look at Danny Roche just turning on the radio to 98.5thesportshub.com. He's locked in from the very beginning. All right, go ahead, dude.
All right, you were obviously at shoot-around yesterday. You were at practice. You saw Porzingis walk around. How did he look? Well, the video we saw, he looks fine, but shooting and walking around is different than running and playing defense.
Exactly. That's the big question, right? And the biggest question I have is, will it do any more damage to him? Like, does he need surgery? I heard a doctor in New York on the NBA radio yesterday is talking about the fact that there's only 32 cases of this in the world of what happened, known in the world, what happened to Porzingis. So, and it's a lot like Kurt Schilling, where they, the two doctors, Dr. Morgan and Dr. Theodore, took stitches and basically took the stitches and braced and wrapped them like around the tendon to keep him in place so Schilling could pitch. And we saw, the blood and everything else from when he pitched. So you wonder, will this do more damage to Porzingis for the long run? And if he needs surgery, he's going to have it really soon to be ready to go and healthy next year and for the rest of his career. So that's a big one. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think that they maybe keep him out again and just let him be and keep him around the team and what have you. Because I heard PJ Washington from the Mavs was saying that he felt that the Celtics were a better defensive team without Porzingis in the lineup. So again, defense is what's won them so far. They've kept the Mavs under 100 points all 3 games in this series. They had come in over 100 points in 7 straight games. So defense is going to be the key. Although Luka said yesterday to ESPN that he felt the offense was the problem, not the defense. The defense will be fine. So, but that's right. I look at it, John, and I just think he shouldn't play. But they're trying to win Game 4. It's always the hardest one to do. So if you feel like he can help you win Game 4 and show that's what Joe Mazzulla wants, so maybe he'll go out and give it a try.
I just don't know why you would take the risk with him at this point, up 3-0 in the series. If it gets to 3-2 and you want to push the panic button and put him in there for Game 6, that maybe makes sense. But I mean, unless you lose 4 games in a row, you're winning the title, whether he's on the floor or not. It wouldn't make sense to throw him out there if there's any risk of further injury or, like you said, of him not being ready next year.
And I think that'll be the conversation with Brad Stevens, with Joe Mazzulla, with the medical staff, more importantly, and with Porzingis, the risk versus the reward factor here. Now, again, I will say that we've seen players and athletes in the past, kind of don't care. I'll do anything I can to play. I'll do anything to help and secure that championship, which may cause damage down the road. And that's the thing. You have Porzingis, under contract for a long time. So you don't want to have that long-term damage here. And like you said, Ryan, it makes sense. Absolutely. But you guys know that they want to win. They need one more win. And I think, ask Mazzulla, who's got this, die or lose, or, win or die type of attitude, that he'll do anything. But I don't think he would ever put a player at risk. So that'll be a conversation with that.
You mentioned Luka, and of course, he's the other big story. He was very contrite when he talked to you guys yesterday. And I don't know, I'm sure you heard it right before you came on. His teammates weren't exactly backing him up on his actions in Game 3. Made for a real weird dynamic in front of you guys.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic around the Mavs right now. And this is just a strange shit. I just went down the lobby and I heard Fred say to you, John, at the beginning here. I went down the lobby to get a cup of coffee, and there was a conversation going on at the front desk, and it was like, Boston's going to let them win tonight here so they can have a big party Monday night in Boston. So there's a weird feeling around here about the Mavs. I think people have basically given up on them. But they're bound to lose, and why not with the 156-0 when teams are up 3-0 in a best of 7. But at the same time, all the numbers are flowing towards the Celtics to get it done tonight. You know what I mean? Like, everything will be a complete story if they win this game tonight. They'll have 80 victories. They'll be 16-2 in the playoffs, an 11-game playoff winning streak, longest in team history. So they'll be 8-0 on the road. They'll be 4-0 in series clinching games. So all those numbers go in the way of the Celtics here. So I just think that they've been very good, this particular team. And we're going to look back on it and say this particular single season, almost like the 2018 Red Sox, was just a special team. Now, will it last for a long time? We don't know. But this year, this is just one special team, which is why I think they will end it tonight.
All right. Who are people more mad at there, Kyrie or Luka?
I think they're mad at Luka right now because of, like John said, the whining and the disappointment of his performance in Game 3. Because Kyrie stepped up. Kyrie performed. He had, when he needed to, he had 35 points to lead them, and Luka was he had 2 fouls within like 30 seconds to foul out of the game. So I think that they were just ticked off. They're all ticked off at Doncic right now, and they're ticked off at the Mavs. I think they felt, and you were talking about it nationally, Fred. I think every writer, everything I saw nationally, ESPN and what have you, they all picked the Mavs pretty much to win this series. So I think that they get swept up into the hype, as you would expect in the finals. But I think we're also finding out what experience means in these finals, too, with what happened 2 years ago to the Celtics against the Golden State Warriors. And then the players were referencing Game 7 last year in the Eastern Conference Final. So they've learned. This team is loaded with experience. Drew Holiday makes a huge difference. And I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing why Dallas is struggling. One of the very many reasons, that and the lack of depth on this team behind Irving and Doncic if they don't score.
Jason Tatum has gotten his share of criticism, and he was saying yesterday or the day before that he doesn't much care about any of that. He just wants to win. But where would you place him of the list of Celtic greats if indeed the Celtics finish this thing off?
That's a good one because, it's hard. And I think, John, you're the same way. You know Celtics history. You grew up with it around here. And, Ryan, the same way, too. And Fred, you know the history of the Celtics. It's strange to say, is Jason Tatum, like a Larry Bird? I mean, is he, you look at Paul Pierce, and things like that, and you say, is he better than Pierce? So, all that matters is once they win that championship, then those comparisons can start. But yeah, I mean, he's in the upper echelon of great Celtics, and the way the stats are looking, right, because of the way the game's played now, he's going to end up with a lot of the top categories in stats. If he continues to do what he does. And that's the other thing, too. We keep looking at it. And how old are Brown and Tatum, John, right? They're just 25, 20s. 26. Yeah, it's just like they should be able to do this for a while. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to end up in the upper echelon of all-time Celtics if he continues to trend the way that they're trending.
It's funny when you talk about numbers. I heard Ordway on Felger and Maz yesterday, and he was saying how Larry Bird averaged 2.5 3-point attempts a game.
Yeah. A little different.
I mean, things are a little stranger now.
I think the Celtics had 53-point attempts the other night, right?
Yeah.
So that's like crazy.
If Larry Bird played now, he'd attempt, 15, 16 three-pointers a game. It would be insane how many he would be taking. All right, Danny Roche. Are you all wound up? When is the parade going to be?
I'm pumped. We'll be ready to go starting at 5 o'clock in the WBZ News. Steve Burton's flown down for tonight. David Wade will be outside. We'll be inside. We'll have continued long celebration and starting in the 11 o'clock news all the way through. So looking forward to a big night. Should be a lot of fun, and hope they celebrate. And if not, we'll see you Monday at the Garden, too.
Burton's there. Now it's a party.
All right. So you're saying, Dan, that you're not concerned at all that your daughter's marrying a relative despite the sharing of a last name.
All right, fellas, have a great night. Enjoy the game.
You're not going to get a genetic test, are you, Danny?
No. Come on, Fred.
You're not even a little worried about that?
Nope.
All right. Danny Roche.
Okay.
Have fun.
Love you, fellas. Have a good one.
All right, Danny. Love you.
He's worried.
He does protest too much.
A little bit, yeah.
All right. Very good. Danny Roche is in Dallas, Texas. He'll be on tonight, WBZ Television. Ryan Johnston sent us a story about a man getting paid in a very odd manner. We will have that for you coming right up.
Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics will look to clinch an NBA championship tonight. Game 4 of the finals. They lead 3-0 over the Dallas Mavericks. Kristaps Porzingis is officially questionable for tonight's game. Shams Charania said yesterday there is a chance that he will play. You can hear the game right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub and the BetMGM Celtics Radio Network. Pregame gets underway at 7:30, and then Grandy and Max have the call at 8:30. Florida Panthers have a 3-0 lead in the Stanley Cup final after a 4-3 win last night in Edmonton. Game 4 of that series is tomorrow night as Florida looks to lift the cup for the first time in franchise history. The Salt Lake City NHL franchise is officially a thing. The purchase of the Arizona Coyotes was closed yesterday, and the team announced they will be known as the Utah Hockey Club for their inaugural season. Fan voting continues on a new nickname for future years. Red Sox with a 9-3 win over the Phillies last night at Fenway. They will host the Yankees to start a 3-game set tonight. First pitch at 6:30. Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence has a new 5-year contract extension worth $55 million a year. The deal could be worth a total of up to $275 million. And Rory McIlroy, an early bogey this morning at the U.S. Open, so Patrick Cantlay is all by himself atop the leaderboard in the second round. He'll tee off around 1:30. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by the New England Revolution. See the Revs take on the Vancouver Whitecaps FC this Saturday with the Revolution Family 4-Pack. 4 tickets, saving you up to 40% off individual ticket prices and $60 in added value with 4 food and beverage coupons. Get your 4-pack today at revolutionsoccer.net. I'm Ryan.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Ryan Johnston, who it should be one of the voices of the Bruins. I don't know why this is being overthought. Him and Surratt, you got your two guys. People would support Ryan Johnston, too. You might pick up listeners. We're brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. With FanDuel, I have these Invisalign in, John, which you've had.
Yep, still do.
And they are very aggressive with them. There's a laser that you put in your mouth for 10 minutes a day. And I'm sure it does a lot. But
what is it supposed to do?
I don't know. Make your bones more malleable. I don't know what it's supposed to do.
I've never had that.
No,
That's crazy.
But it's only 3 months of wearing them, and then they're out. And there's 20 different Invisaligns in 3 months. So like every 5 days, I'm going through a new one.
Does your jaw just constantly hurt?
So
because when I remember I had braces when I was a kid, and it was like just constant aching.
Yeah.
So what's happening is that they're so aggressive with this that they put stumps like on my teeth and on the back of the Invisalign. So when I close my mouth, the stump on one of the tooth is literally pushing one of the other teeth back, like physically pushing them back. Not like braces where it's like this gradual thing. It's like an aggressive pushing motion, and I realize I'm just constantly annoyed. Like I'm constant. It feels like being super hungover. Like I'm just like that annoyance. Like I'm just like really, and I consistently checking myself now, going like, "What the hell, dude? Like what's going on with you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm mad about my mouth." like it just like feels like someone's pushing a tooth like the whole time.
And you already have a fake tooth in there.
Oh, that's loose. That's already
already gone.
Yeah. Like
yes.
the fake tooth.
The fake tooth you shouldn't have gotten is still in there.
The fake tooth I got scammed into getting. This is it's hanging on by a thread. But I'm not going in unless I have to. I'm going in next week. I'm not going in unless I have to. All right, Ryan Johnston, Johnny on the spot. Ryan Johnston in our chat here for the show before. Over the course of the last 24 hours, Ryan, you found a news story of interest.
I did. It's about a problematic motel in Omaha, Nebraska. The neighbors really wish would just go away because of some of the issues that are related to this hotel. But there was one particular aspect of the past problems with this hotel that was pointed out by the local police chief that I thought was interesting.
Is the motel still there in Natick that's all sketchy?
No, it's gone. You're talking about the one next to the Verve.
Yeah.
In between. Is that what it was?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was in between Dick's Sporting Goods and the Verve. They finally knocked it down.
Okay, because you just went when I saw that, I would just go, well, whores.
Yeah.
And that's what you get. Like some of these little motels, it's particularly the independent ones. Sometimes it's.
Yeah,
rent rooms by the hour. There's a lot of drug activity, things like that.
When I was like 18, I worked with a guy who lived there. Things weren't going well.
He lived there?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Well, that's like the whole thing, like the whole trope that when you get divorced, you like move into one of these motels. But I can't imagine, even if I got a prostitute, I'd rather just use my car. At the risk of getting caught, than go into an hourly motel.
Yeah.
Like, what's your incentive if you worked at? If you work, I always do this exercise when you eat somewhere or sleep somewhere. Mostly sleep somewhere. Go through the exercise of how motivated you would be to clean the place. Like, if I work at that motel, like my instinct. I told you this was not even that bad. Like, I had to go to the bathroom. I had to pee on the way to Newport. And we pulled into this motel. There was no gas station around. I pulled into a motel. I asked the front desk, I'm like, do you have a bathroom? And the woman's like, no. And I go, oh, man, okay. I really got to go to the bathroom. She goes, here, take this key, like a key.
Oh, she gave you the room?
A key. And she goes, go into this room. I go in the room, and there's like, it's a guy's room. There's like luggage. The bed's not made. And this was like a motel where you walk into the room from the outside. Like it wasn't like an indoor room.
Right.
Like those places sketch me out. Those places, I don't care for them. And this won't, if you are like me, this will not do you any. So this is Omaha, Nebraska. This is like a real place.
This is a Motel 6 in Omaha, Nebraska.
Motel 6 is a chain that you would assume is run by some guidelines. Here you go.
It's a local motel that police and city leaders say is a source of problems that have been impacting nearby neighborhoods. I'm Molly Hudson near 84th and Grover. This is an area that neighbors I've talked to are increasingly concerned about because of crime.
84th and the Cookie Monster. Omaha, very based on children's programming. Electric Company Square.
I'm Molly Hudson near 84th and Grover. This is an area that neighbors I've talked to are increasingly concerned about because of crime and safety issues. Now I've learned the city is putting pressure on this motel as they work to address these quality of life concerns. What Omaha police told neighbors about this motel is so surprising, we'll play it twice.
3 years ago, the night clerk was accepting ground beef as payment for a room.
Yes!
You know, ground beef is really a winner nowadays.
Yeah, it is. Hell yeah, it is.
Yes! Stepped in ground beef, so. Sat in ground beef, so. Miss, if you'll just please sit in this top sirloin.
Can I get a room? Well, that'll be $39 a night. I don't have $39, but would you accept some ground beef?
Yeah, that is that is a very specific thing. That is not like someone just made a payment. That is, I know that this man would prefer ground beef. Like, there's a place that will not allow him to purchase it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I just kept putting my testicles in it, so.
Yeah.
Like, there's like a Kroger that was. Don't let Jet in anymore. Why? He keeps putting his balls in everything. Like, I would like some ground beef, but the people at Kroger have wronged me. I tell you, we live in a police state with cameras everywhere. A man cannot even free his genitalia in public anymore. I was trying to block it. I used 2 watermelons to block the scope of the camera.
The night clerk was accepting ground beef as payment for a room.
That's Captain John Sokolik, and here's that soundbite again.
3 years ago, the night clerk was accepting ground beef as payment for a room.
Finally, his broadcast gets it.
Yeah. Hat tip to the news reporter said, we've got to play that again.
Yeah, we've heard so many news fumble the ball. These small town news places fumble the ball. If I'm a larger market, I'm like, get this lady on. She knows where the story lies. Ground beef. That's the best. It's perishable, too. That's the great thing.
That's right.
Like, you'd have to go out and get it. Like, no one would just have ground beef in the car, right? Like, if it was like you wanted beer or cigarettes or anything. Like,
a transaction you had discussed far in advance.
Yeah.
I'll be there with 2 pounds of beef by 8.
It's perishable, and it's not something that you would have on you. Like, it's something that has to be, and it would be something so specific. It wasn't he accepted it one time, like, all right, dude.
Well, that's the thing. Is like the police know about this, so this must have been an ongoing arrangement. This guy had.
Same deal as last time. No, I'm sorry. I need 3 pounds this time.
And that's the guy that's assuring you that you were sleeping on sheets that have no other bodily fluids on them but your own. Again, you're out of your mind staying at these places.
He says officers are here so often that the department is now calling the Motel 6 corporate office.
We've been working with their corporate headquarters because their corporate headquarters, at last conversation we had, that location does not meet their industry branding standards.
Neighbors like Amy were happy to hear city officials have the motel on their radar.
I am actually thrilled. Honestly, if I won the lottery tomorrow.
Hey, I'm thrilled too. ABC used to pay me in ground beef.
Doris would have to catch her own.
Yeah. Ground beef, yeah. Ground beef is you get a cow, you tackle it, and about a half an hour later, ground beef. Just use your nails and teeth. Oh, this hide will be beautiful. I'll make you some boots just with my hands.
But the beauty has to be in the hunt, Doris. It's not just a finished product.
Oh, no. But cows are easy. The thrill of a cow is not the hunt so much as it is the disembowelment. A real ritualized disembowelment. A cow allows for that. Oh, kids, you're tipping cows again. No sweat. I'll get rid of the carcass. I'll get rid of that in 2 shakes of a lily.
I am actually thrilled. Honestly, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would.
Hell yeah. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd kill. Kill again. Guess what? I just won the lottery. If I won the lottery, I'd buy a bigger bow.
Where's the beef?
Oh, it's right there.
Would go and buy that place and bulldoze it down.
Neighbors did learn Monday there will be action at this median where they've been asking for a sign to be posted to stop people from standing on it. Near 84th and Grover, I'm Molly Hudson,
If you're
your
Motel
Central
6,
Omaha neighborhood
okay,
reporter.
if you're Motel 6, that's enough. Like that's enough. Like this report's enough. You gotta go. It's not worth it. Like we're out of Omaha.
Yeah.
Like I'm never gonna be in Omaha. Like
when the corporate office is getting phone calls from reporters asking about the ground beef discount.
Yeah, exactly. Like the minute that happens, that the police have named your motel chain, the place that you have out there, their corporate headquarters, and that they've also taken ground beef as payment. That's bizarre enough where I'm just like, it's not worth it. Now they're playing it in Boston, and now the Motel 6
How much are we
brand-
making at the corner of 84th and Grover?
Yeah, like they could be making like $10 million a year, and it's not worth this publicity. Like we gotta pull the cord on this thing.
The night clerk was accepting ground beef as payment for a room.
Yes.
Wow, far out.
Faster guy. Very excited about that. Aren't you, Faster guy?
Yeah.
Very good. I'm excited. Would you like to leave us with anything else, Faster guy, while we're on the subject?
Eggs, milk, cheese, deluxe.
All right. Well, you would expect if you were the guy, you would accept all those payments.
The longer the hair, the bigger the brains.
I can attest to that. Yes.
Short names are usually a little faster.
It's just true. Nothing quicker than a Smith. All right. We will be back in just a moment. Cedric Maxwell, Wallach's best friend, will join us.
Sunny side up.
signature punctuation mark on a dominant third quarter. All year long, the Celtics have been the same machine on the road.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel, and you can watch us on YouTube every morning live. Cedric Maxwell is the Celtics color analyst for the 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics radio network, and Max is brought to you by Amica Insurance. Boston Celtics playoff coverage is presented by Amica Insurance. As the Celtics chase banner 18, visit Amica.com today to learn more about Amica's award-winning customer service. Max joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Hi, Max.
Hi, sir. How are you doing?
I am doing well, and as you call tonight's game, if it is indeed a Celtics sweep, will Grandy still pretend that there is an us against them vibe?
I think Grandy will be okay, once the Celtics win, and I think they will sweep tonight. Human nature has it that, if you play a game like this and you're down 3-0 and you have to go back to Boston, you'll play a good first half. But if anything goes wrong in that second half, you'll let go of the rope and you'll forget about it, and you'll think about why should we fly 3.5 hours back to Boston to take a beating in front of a crowd like the Celtic crowd.
Does it matter if Porzingis plays tonight?
It would be nice if he did, but I just think that why are you going to do that if in fact you've already won these games? And I still believe the Celtics are good enough right now to beat this team without Porzingis. They just did it, and I think they'll have a golden opportunity again tonight.
The thing I really wanted to ask you about was Luka Doncic, who is obviously one of the best players in the league, but you played in a time where the league was much more physical. As a guy who comes from a certain generation of players, how do you feel about Luka complaining as much as he does?
John, we use the word we call bitching, okay?
Yep.
All the time. I don't like it, but didn't Magic do that all the time?
Yes.
Complain and argue. I mean, I just think they're generational players who do that. And, during my particular time, I think it would have been vigilante justice, and somebody would have taken care of that. But now this league is a lot different. And, for me, they've let Luka get away with a lot of stuff in this series. I've heard many times saying they would probably gave him 2 or 3 technicals and threw him out the game, but the leeway that they've given him in this game has been extraordinary.
What is the justification? I mean, you're a player, like John said, your numbers retired by the Celtics, based a lot on your excellence in the playoffs. What is the mentality of a player that's like laying on the floor complaining possession after possession while there's transition baskets the other way, and then when that's broken, when they break the film down in front of the team and like you see it, A, is that something a coach would point out in front of the team to the player? And B, if they do, how embarrassing is that to the individual that's being called out?
It's pretty embarrassing, but the player already knows. And sometimes if you have a superstar player like that, I don't even know if you run the tape back to show him, to embarrass him in front of the team. A lot of these players right now, they want to be coddled. And because of that, if you're Luka, are you about to piss him off right now? If you're J. Kidd, your best player, showing him something that he already knows in front of his teammates? His teammates have seen it already. And remind you want to sign this guy back to almost $600 million, a $600 million contract. So I don't know. It's a very fine line as a coach to try to reprimand a guy at the same time trying to, just get his attention.
Especially in the NBA, where generally the superstar on your team kind of determines your future as a coach, right? So if Luka says to Mark Cuban, I don't like this guy anymore, and Mark Cuban says, well, I want to keep Doncic, I care more about him than I care about Jason Kidd.
Yeah, we've seen that. Haven't we seen that right now in L.A., where the Lakers at? How many coaches they've gone through? even right now, Donovan Mitchell, something went on right now in Cleveland, and Cleveland said, well, let's get rid of this coach because we want you to somehow sign an extension and be happy. That's the thing I did talk to some of the coaches with the Celtics. And that generally these guys that they have are good guys, and they don't have to be baby. They love the game. They love the coach. So the Celtics haven't had to deal with that in a while. Now, I do believe they dealt with it when Kyrie's around. When Kyrie was here and they wanted him to sign, I think they overextended. They babied him too much, and he decided to steal the league.
How do you think Jason Kidd has handled Luka Doncic, given what Ryan just brought up? And it is touchy because you do want him to play, and Jason Kidd wants to keep his job. But how do you think he's handled the situation?
I think that, he tries to do it in a manner, again, to try to get the players' attention. But at the same time, he does not want to blast him out in the public and put him in the limelight, put him on Front Street. So that's that fine line we talk about. He wants their respect, he wants their love. But here's the thing I believe with players though. Players are like kids. And my dad back in that time would tell me, I'm not your damn friend. And I'm your parent. And I think coaches almost have to be the same way. Have to be more consistent with being dads or moms than being friends to players. Players want to be coached hard. They understand what that is. But this is a new era, so I do understand why coaches and teams tiptoe around.
There's a shelf life to that too, and you know this. We've talked on and off air about your dealings with Bill Fitch, and then your dealings with Casey Jones, who is the exact opposite of that.
Absolutely. Yes, there is a shelf life with coaches, but I think in Bill's case, some of the stuff was off the court. Like Bill Fitch wouldn't we played at Madison Square Garden. And back then we had to catch the bus and go back to the room. But after the game, you wanted to go your separate ways. We were staying overnight anyway. Bill Fish demanded that we go all the way, get on the bus, go all the way back across town in New York, and then have to come back and meet your friends in the garden. So the thing about treating players as men and not treating them like kids, but treating them like men, sometimes that's another line that these new age coaches have to do. And Bill, he just wanted to keep us from being, grown men who had won the championship to being his dudes.
Jason Tatum obviously is in the spotlight because the Celtics are on the verge of a championship, and he is the best player on the best team. And people have spent a lot of time trying to figure out just how good he is. Are we overanalyzing all of this? Is he just great and we should leave it alone?
I think you do. I think that you do overanalyze it. People do. And, he hasn't done this. He hasn't done that. And again, I'm not shooting my horn or anything like that. But in 1981, when I was the Finals MVP against Houston Rockets, Joe Barry Carroll did a great job against Larry Bird and contained him. Larry did not shoot the ball well. Now, was I the best player in the finals? Yes. But was I the best player on my team? No. And I understood that. But there are times when the best player has to get out of the way for maybe a guy who's less than him, that's having a great game or a great series, and win. This is all about winning right now, a championship. These individual accolades are cool, but how do you get to that next level? You win a championship and shut your critics up that way. Tatum has played well. He hasn't played great, but he's played well, and he's done all these other things. In the beginning of the series, John, I remember what everybody was saying, that Dallas has the best player. I'm not so sure after this series. And I say that because Luka, defensively, John, I'm not sure if he can stand in front of me or you right now.
Well, he could certainly stand in front of you.
The question is, would he take a step to his right if we did that?
Yeah, and that is the truth. And because of that, how are you the best player if defensively right now you are a shell? Do we say that about Tatum right now? Tatum's done an excellent job of defending. The reason the Celtics are in this position is because there are no holes defensively. Yeah, I know they went on air before the series and said that the best guard combination maybe in the history of the NBA are Kyrie and Luka. Well, let's go further. The best defensive guard combination maybe in the history of the NBA might be Derek White and Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
So defense maybe trumps offense.
Yeah, it's like a different game in the playoffs, in the finals. It becomes a different game. It's interesting to see. Cedric, if they win the championship tonight, what will your evening be like? Game ends. There's a championship celebration. Where does Cedric go from there?
Cedric probably goes back to his room. He's 68 now. all that partying and hanging out and all that crap. I'm good. I just want to win and go home.
Okay. When would the plane leave? Would it leave in the morning? Would it leave the next day? Is there a room to go back to?
Matter of fact, there are two planes, I think, which are leaving. One's leaving tonight, a family plane, which is going to leave tonight. And then the team plane is actually leaving tomorrow, win, lose, or draw. I just hope they go ahead and win the series and get it over with. I don't like the idea about winning it back home, waiting, and all that stuff. No, anything can happen.
My question for you, Max, is if they do indeed clinch it tonight, will you get the ball?
Oh yeah!
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that would be so cool. But we're up in the Netherlands here. Yeah. I mean,
a little tougher to get it from up there. Yeah.
Only way they get the ball up there to me right now, they have to shoot it off with a cannon. That's the only way I could get it. So last time I was on the court, I was standing there, and the ball happened to bounce around. This time, there's no way for me to be on the court to get the basketball. But I'm so excited for these guys with the opportunity of winning 18 and leaving those fakers behind out west.
Now, my question is, are they going to have you introduce the MVP again if they win tonight? Are you going to be done? You'll be on the floor for that.
No, I don't think that I'm the person this time. I think that, I haven't heard, but it could, they might be rotating it around. I don't know, but I would think because he's here, he's a Hall of Famer, he's been around the Celtics, it might be Robert Parrish. It could be. I was supposed to have dinner last night with Robert Parrish. I didn't have it, but Robert Parrish might be in the building, and he was there for Game 3. So I wouldn't be surprised if Robert Parrish is the guy who's going to be doing those honors tonight, if in fact it ends tonight.
And he loves marijuana. Everyone knows that Robert Parrish.
There you go. Had it delivered. Yes.
He said it many times.
Well, here's the beauty of all that which is so ironic now. Robert Parrish used to have it flown in. Now you go right down to the dispensary and get it any place you want to in Boston.
Yeah.
And it's legal to do. So, if he had just held his horses for another 20 years, 25 years, he wouldn't have been in that kind of problem.
I've heard him. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think they'd let you grow it in your own house if you wanted to.
No, to a certain degree, they do. But I'll tell you this, is that I don't think he would have traded those years for anything. I think he very thoroughly enjoyed it. I think he enjoyed the whole thing.
He did, and I spoke at Robert Parrish's when they retired his jersey, and then we had a dinner. His mom and dad were there. I said I was never prouder of Robert Parrish once as a player, but more so when he got in trouble, because when he did the whole thing with the marijuana, he stood up. I did it. I'm sorry, and I guess he had his fingers crossed, and I probably won't do it again. Maybe that was it. But he was able to – the real measure of a man to me is not when all these good times, but sometimes in those bad times. That's the real character and the test of a man. And that's why I was so proud of my buddy Robert Parrish when that did happen.
Wait a minute. You were prouder of him for that or when he punched Bill Laimbeer in the face?
I was actually, John, believe it or not, I was proud of him for that.
Okay.
Even punching Bill Laimbeer, because I think that, how many times we've seen in this country or athlete or a politician, whoever, something happens, and the first thing they said, and they have a tape of you. You know, there was a guy who was on the bus, something said something about a woman. He's like, that wasn't me. I didn't say that. Or Robert Parrish, in his defense, he said, look, yeah, that was me. I'm sorry. My bad.
He didn't even do anything.
And moved on and took his punishment. And that's a lesson to all kids, to people, anybody out there who says, look, once you do something and that's done, you get caught, you do the time, you do whatever it was, and now you pay the price and you move on. You become a better person because of that instead of trying to dodge the issues.
All right. Well, yeah, Scott Zola just came in and said you're the second best color guy of all time.
Yeah.
No, my buddy. That's my buddy Zoe.
Yeah.
Zoe is the only person in New England that can call me colored. So I just go with that.
I'm not sure that's the case. I don't think there's anyone. I don't think Scott gets away with that.
No.
I let Zoe do it all the time.
All right.
When I walk into a room, that's the first thing Zoe says. Here comes the second best colored man in the league. I love it.
Perhaps you're mishearing him, Cedric. I don't know.
Well, no, I'm hearing what I want to hear.
Fair enough.
You're hearing what he's thinking, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah, that could be it.
Max, enjoy yourself tonight.
All right. I hopefully, when we talk again, we're talking about championship and, the legacy of this team. And to me, if they break through this year, I happen to talk to Wick about this, and anybody who'd want to hear me, if they break through tonight or in this series, this team, the way it's constructed with Brad Stevens and all these players, they have a possibility to do this 2 or 3 other times with the team that they have right now.
Oh, yeah, there's no question. Yep. This is a team set up for a long run. Not saying they're going to do it, but set up for it. Well, Cedric, enjoy yourself tonight. Hopefully, for your sake, they win tonight. You don't have to go home and do another game. We appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good one.
Take care, Max.
Take it easy. If he's talking about Robert Parrish's marijuana stuff, who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of silly to go back and look at the marijuana stuff and go,
No. It was a big, obviously a big deal at the time because things were different, but no, not now. No one cares now.
No. All right, very good. We will be back. I hope you gentlemen have been collecting emails. I can only hope.
I have a couple here.
I don't know, Ryan,
Not a big one.
what device you want to look on, but there's got to be something out there. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
You know, I got an idea for a bit. The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
Oh, young Nicholas coming up with the greatest ideas. The email segment that everyone loves so much. You can email John at 985thesportshub.com. John with no H.
Yep.
And you have, how can people get in touch with you if they want to support your run as the new Patriots new voice of the Bruins? How would one support you?
I just asked people to start going to social media, use the hashtag RJ for Nesson. And got very nice response out of that on Monday. I appreciate everybody's support. You know, hundreds of people tweeting it and sending it out on Instagram and things like that. So thank you very much for
That's
that.
always gratifying.
Yes.
I would imagine a lot of people in your corner for this.
Yeah. So we had a little fun. Michael Holley and I were here on Monday. We had a little fun with it. I put together some campaign commercials and things like that, and we had a good time with it. But
Holley's a good hype man to have.
He is. Well, he was all about it. Like he was ready to sign on as my campaign manager.
Oh, good.
So,
very good.
Yeah. So, but no, thank you to the listeners because they've been more than kind about that this week.
Makes all the sense in the world to have you do radio and Judd do TV, or even the reverse.
Or vice versa.
Even the reverse. Just get you. It's not like you haven't paid your dues, and it's not like you haven't been around the team all this time.
No,
makes all the sense in the world.
I said it on Monday. It's to be an NHL play-by-play guy is a long-standing dream of mine.
Yep.
With this organization would be a job that I would happily take for the rest of my career.
I don't know if you remember this, Fred, but we had a wing bowl at the Patriot Place Cinema a long time ago.
I remember it because I know exactly what you're going to talk about.
Had So that was the night that Dave Gosher was sick or attending a funeral.
His father had passed away.
His father had passed away. That's right. So Ryan had the play-by-play the Bruins game that night, and I'll never forget leaving the wing bowl, getting in the car, and you were. Was it in Montreal or was it here?
No, it was here.
It was here, and it was like an all-time record for fights between the two teams.
That was the night of the Tim Thomas Carey Price fight, like where the two goalies went at it.
What a game to have!
I remember one of my best friends at the time. He texted me, "Are you bleeping kidding me?"
Yeah.
When that happened, because that was my NHL debut. It was first
awesome.
NHL game I had ever called.
That's awesome.
It was a Donnybrook, if I'm not mistaken.
It was
Donnybrook.
It was hundreds of penalty minutes and like a full-on line brawl.
And you had a goalie
It was like
fight.
an 8-6 final score. I mean, it was ridiculous.
That's great.
Dan is holding court in the other room as the phone rings away. Now the man is gone. Just holding court.
Oh, good. Well, Dan's a very gregarious individual.
No question about it. Hey, guys, long-time listener, first-time emailer. I'm going to see Hootie and the Blowfish at Fenway next week. And I was just curious as you guys' thoughts on them with all your musical wisdom. I was listening to a guy that's kind of funny last night, a national sports guy, and he's like, he was complaining about the Celtics. He was complaining about the series. He's like, I just want to see basketball. And he's like, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. He's like, normally I'd be concerned about missing it, but I can be honest with you, I'm not going to watch Game 4. And he goes, I'm going to be in Saratoga. I'm going up there with my wife. I remember this all. I'm going up with my wife and two other couples. We're going to see Hootie and the Blowfish. And I went, oh, that's odd. And he goes, oh, yeah, I don't want to go, but like I'm going. But just can you imagine getting together with two other couples and saying, what are you doing this weekend? We're going to drive several hours to go up. Why? Just to go up to Saratoga? Are you going to go up and enjoy the country? Are you going to go up and enjoy the racing? No. Jeez. Hootie and the Blowfish are playing, and I would never be able to see them anywhere else.
Will there ever be a time where, because music can be cyclical sometimes, will there ever be a time where it comes back around and you can listen to Hootie and the Blowfish again? Ever? Oh, of course, I assumed you listened the first time, but they were so wildly popular and overplayed, everyone got sick of them. Is there ever going to be a time in the future where it comes back around and you're like, oh, okay, this isn't half bad?
When would they have? I mean, it is what it is, John. I mean, it's not avant-garde. I mean, there's no point where the mainstream.
Will it be acceptable? I phrased it incorrectly. Will it be acceptable to listen to?
It's obviously they're playing Fenway Park.
They're selling out stadiums, John. What are you going to do?
There's a guy called Josh Freese. You guys have definitely listened to songs that he's played drums on, and he was asked, "Has there ever been anything that you've played on that you don't remember and that you've heard and goes, oh, yeah, I played drums on it. He said he's been on over 500 albums. He said it's called NASCAR rock.
No.
Instead of like butt rock, he's like NASCAR rock. And Hootie and the Blowfish, like everything that most sports talk personalities listen to, I would think would be white sports talk personalities listen to, I think would be classified as NASCAR rock.
Okay.
That's that's a great way of putting it. Like it would be, you could play it at a NASCAR race. Hootie and Blowfish. I'm aware. And then remember, every time you tell a golf joke, Hootie floats down and winks.
Remember the video with all the Sports Center guys in it?
Yeah, that's Only Want to Be With You.
Yeah.
And they were over the moon that they were in this Hootie the Blowfish video. They thought it was cool. It was like they were on another planet.
The Dolphins make me cry. There's Dan Marino throwing a pass.
John, when will it be acceptable?
Hootie dropped it.
If you like Hootie and the Blowfish, if you liked Hootie and the Blowfish then, you like Hootie and the Blowfish now. When would you have stopped liking this? There's like no, like it's not like you were a
driven
kid.
into hiding by society.
I mean, I have a feeling if you played this 20 years ago, 20 years now you're playing it too. You were playing it 10 years ago.
When will it be okay to admit that you like the band again? Maybe that's a better question.
Society
was
John.
so
If you're a
against it.
Hootie fan, you wear that on your sleeve.
Oh,
man.
you
That's
do?
a badge of honor.
I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's non-offensive. I never mind. Hootie and the Blowfish were before I started in radio. I think I was still in college when I Only Want to Be With You came out.
Drummer and I went to the same high school.
Well, yeah.
Oh, what a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Is he honored in the high school?
That's a good question. I don't know if he's made it into the Hall of Fame or not. I assume he must have.
Yeah, because it was like John Krasinski and Mindy Kaling Fever, or not Mindy Kaling, John Krasinski and every other comedian went to like these Newton schools.
Yeah.
But even my kids, they talked about John Krasinski at their elementary school. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Hey, Freddie T, I'm getting into reading again, much like many people are getting the Hootie and the Blowfish again. And after reading Dune, I started reading the Hepatitis Bathtub after hearing you talk about it. I'm not the biggest No Effects fan. I like some of their stuff, but I'm halfway through it. It's already one of my favorite books. That's the thing. If I suggest a music biography, you liking the music is going to have nothing, not a single bit of relation to how much you enjoyed the book. Books about the way the songs were made and the meaning behind the songs and dissecting all of that are of no interest to me.
I was not a Sammy Hagar fan at all. None of the music. It was just always kind of there. But I read that autobiography. I'm like, this is incredible. This is incredible. All the stuff that guy's done and how unaware of how egotistical he is. It's great.
That's a great point you're making, because a genre of memoir or biography that is really enjoying is it's not a great book, but the guy doesn't get it.
Not at all.
Like that they gave him far too much leash, and Sammy Hagar is a high profile example of that.
Nobody edited that at all.
Well, no.
Seriously.
If you want to see a book that's non-edited, is the Bobby Blotzer, if you can find it, biography put out by Blotzer Brothers Publishing that I read. The drummer from Rat
at Kinko's.
John, there were pages that were the same, and you say, Fred, what do you mean it was the same thing? It sounded the same. No, it was like page 320 3 times in the book. He has a chapter in that book, a chapter of like 8 to 10 pages on his carpet cleaning business. That's in a book that he wrote. He's like, and then I got into carpet cleaning, and it went really well, my brother and I, but he's kind of a dick. It's my brother-in-law and I started a carpet cleaning business. I even read Meet Me in the Bathroom after you're hearing it on your show, so I'm curious, what other music books would you recommend? Love the show, love you, and Hardy, and Squawk, Squawk, Bacow. John will know what that means. That's from Pat. I would say read, if you want, maybe the best one. And oral histories tend to be the best one, which is just a compilation of interviews in like kind of linear that complement each other, the timeline of when they put the quotes in. Is that a great one is Please Kill Me, which starts in New York City with the Velvet Underground and goes through till about like 1979 of like and Iggy Pop is the star of the show. Iggy Pop, who would just come into Max's Kansas City naked and so wasted it didn't matter who was doing what to him. Anything was welcome to Iggy Pop. Yes, John.
Did you ever read Pete Townsend's? biography?
I did.
You see, I did too. I found that interesting. Almost getting into a huge fight with Roger Daltrey when they were kids and how he hated him.
Pete Townsend's biography is good. It's not one of like the top 10 I'd recommend, and I'm not even a Who fan, but I thought it was interesting. There's enough debauchery and messed up stuff that made it interesting to me. I read Roger Daltrey's biography.
How did that go?
Not as much attention put into it as the Pete Townsend biography.
Yes.
Yeah, Roger Daltrey, much like the Who, kind of an afterthought. And
it's a good thing Hardy's not here for you to say that.
But there's a lot of like investigation into his homes in the London area.
Sure.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment. John is going to do the stack, but it will be fart free today, John.
From the show. It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
Told me 800 other stories, and now, because he's all fired up, he was at Encore last night.
Oh, yeah,
Scotty
that's
Z.
right. That's right. Zoe's a lot of personal appearances for Zoe. They're throwing footballs through windows.
He was
He's
in
going to-
Woburn.
Interviewed your buddy JE11 last night. He had a lot of things going on.
He was in, and then he was at Encore last night. So he got here early because he didn't have the long commute. And now it was a rough night at the Encore. So, but he's here, and now he's all fired up. He's telling me all these stories, and then he buried like a good one. That now I got to go to my son's doctor right after this. But I'm gonna have to hear this. It's gonna supersede that. Go ahead. What? All right. He's
Don't
gonna
tell
take
that
that
story.
Exactly.
Don't tell it. Don't you dare tell that story.
He's being very open. Very, very open.
A couple of leftover emails from the email segment before we get to some other stuff. This from JM. She wants to know, how come no shooting the breeze today?
We had stuff. I had an extra Adolfo thing, and then we had the news story Ryan gave. So shooting the breeze, don't you worry. The couple weeks I'm here in July.
Yes.
You'll be getting some shooting the breeze.
A very popular segment. A lot of people call in for it.
It's a wonderful segment. It's completely caller driven. It allows us to go off on tangents, but I had actually produced stuff to use today. We had so much stuff for yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the most loaded shows I've ever been on. We had so much stuff for yesterday that spilled into today, and it was stuff I had to play today or we weren't going to be able to play.
And this one from Justin. Adolfo, the cowboy lawyer, just met up with a boxer writer. He really did meet himself from 20 years ago, in case you were not listening earlier. Great audio in the 8 o'clock hour of Adolfo interviewing a guy who he could have time traveled forward and met.
Yeah,
it might have been him.
It was a guy who appeared to be on some kind of disassociative or a hallucinogenic. And he just was saying that he was going to New York to pray for him because he was going to be a writer-boxer, which does go with Adolfo's past as wanting to be a cowboy lawyer. Adolfo getting audio for the show. Very exciting. By the way, our show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. The Stack is brought to you by Best Ford in Nashua. If you're looking for great deals on new Fords, go to the Best First. Best Ford in Nashua. Head to thebestfordnh.com, baby.
Doc Rivers, as you know, became the Milwaukee Bucks head coach midway through the season. He did not have a winning record after he took over, and his team was quickly bounced out of the playoffs. Giannis was unable to play. Damian Lillard looked good at times, looked bad at times, and Doc had something to say recently about Damian Lillard.
And so Dame was telling me, we were at dinner 2 or 3 days before training camp, and he said, Coach, I didn't work out all summer. It's the first time in my life that I've not worked out. I was so scared of getting injured working out.
Oh, because he was a possible trade. Yeah.
Yeah, he knew he was going to get traded. So he said, I did some light running. I did some shooting with no one in the gym, but I didn't go at all. He said, I'm out of shape. And he was honest about it. That's one of the reasons you love him, because he is honest. He said, this is the worst shape I've ever been in. And when you start camp that way, you don't ever get in shape. You never catch up. And he felt that way. It's funny. I start calling him names like jokingly with him, talking about his weight, and he's heavy. And all summer now, I'm working twice a day. I'm down to this. Like, he is so proud that he's in great shape right now already.
Keep in mind that Doc Rivers was not the coach when Lillard was telling him this. This happened during training camp. Kind of leads you to believe that they were ready to get rid of Adrian Griffin quickly. Now, that was already in mind, and Doc Rivers was already in mind to be the next head coach.
I mean, he already had excuses. There was injuries. Giannis didn't play in the playoffs, so he had an excuse. I don't understand why he has to keep rattling off these excuses. Excuses on top of excuses. Now that I have an excuse for the playoffs, let me give you a regular season excuse.
Yeah.
Damian Lillard was out of shape.
Also, that makes your player look great.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know.
That he just, I was so worried. I'm not worried about helping the team. I'm worried about potentially getting traded, so I'm not going to work out.
Yeah, hey, fans, I was completely not ready to play last year. Good to see you. Welcome to Milwaukee. It was fun. Thanks, coach.
Yeah, you're about to be traded. You're getting out of Portland. Make sure you let everybody know that you're not ready to go wherever it is you're being sent.
And do it after the season, so, I mean, Jesus Christ. By the way, you heard Bill Simmons there.
Yes.
And I believe that's Bill. He has a very distinctive voice.
Bill Simmons podcast, yes.
As this has been a very boring playoff for the Celtics, but they will win a championship, the Globe has set off to find old Celtics fans. And one they found was Bill Simmons Jr., who was Bill Simmons' father. And he doesn't even seem that old, but he remembers the teams from the 70s. This isn't the Globe. They have a guy that saw them before the NBA.
There are people alive who remember the Celtics of the 70s?
It's pretty funny because there's a guy. I know Wallach's like, why are you not putting me on?
What's your problem?
Listen, Bill Simmons' dad got a mustache and long hair. God bless him. He's just I'm not conforming to societal norms. I'm living like it's 1972 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But so they have a guy that it's interesting, kind of there's this guy super old. He's like, I used to go to the games before there was an NBA. And then, so that's interesting.
Right.
Oh, he's 89.
Tell us what basketball was like back in the 40s and 50s.
Right.
That's,
Yeah. And then they go to Bill Simmons and he goes, the first two finals he attended as a season ticket holder were 73 and 74. And it's well, congratulations. You're kind of old. That's deep into the, I mean, how entrenched are people in Boston? People have been here for generations, as old as the country is.
Yep.
I mean, there's no more of a provincial area in the world than Boston, Massachusetts, and they're spotlighting a guy that just happened to have season tickets in the 70s. I'd imagine there's quite a few people that had season tickets in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, and he's like, yeah, back then, the Bruins and Red Sox were more popular. Yeah, there is recorded history of the 70s. That's available to all of us. That's ground that's been covered. Yeah, that's a big thing with Mad Dog is he doesn't like the Boston fans because they pretended that they liked the team before 1980. That's a big bone to pick with him.
Yeah, Dog has his own issues.
Well, I can't get enough of him. He had on Marv Albert, and he's like, so, what people say, Jerry West, the 1970 LA team overrated. And he's like, huh? And he's like, the team, it was overrated, right? The regular season. And he's like, I don't remember. Right? What question? Call up Marv Albert. I want to talk about Jerry West. No one expected Jerry West to die.
Right.
So, it's a shame he's dead. So call up Marv Albert. He knows. He was calling games back when he played. So they called Marv Albert. It's break down the 1968 Lakers. He's like, I don't know. He goes, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember.
What was it like acting in the movie The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh? Let's go back.
See, that's knowledge he might have, John. But I don't know about breaking down a roster that's not in front of him
50-plus years
from before
ago.
I was alive. Well before I was alive. And I'm an old man. Ask any female. Very old. You never feel older until you start dating again. Hachi Machi.
So, real quick, the only reason I want to play this is because of your reaction to it. You know, the Red Sox played a game last night.
Yeah.
In relative anonymity. They played the Philadelphia Phillies. Sorry, Ryan. They played the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies, the best team in the National League, but the Red Sox had won a game from Philadelphia, and last night, the do-or-die Game 3
Is this O'Neill?
Yes, it is.
All right.
There it is.
Swing and a drive.
Yeah, it's a 4-leaf clover. There's after the rainbow of that dinger, there's a prize. Yeah, he's too muscular. He keeps getting hurt. Yeah, that was the problem there with the Cardinals.
Just off the injured list, Tyler O'Neill, a 430-foot three-run home run. The Red Sox take 2 out of 3 from the vaunted Philadelphia Phillies.
You should have played the highlight of the triple so Milliken could take his shirt off.
No.
Tyler Milliken.
We don't want that.
Tyler Milliken's cousin. Don't let your cousin, Tyler Milliken's cousin's cousin, make you debase yourself by taking
What
your
banner
shirt
would
off.
that be? If Tyler Milliken's cousin singing about some banner.
Do you have? Can we end? Scott wants the Tyler Milliken's
Summer breeze.
He wants the summer breeze.
While they find it, by the way,
breeze one.
the extender is working tonight's game. Scott Foster has been
Jesus.
assigned to tonight's game 4.
So we'll see you on Monday. Yeah.
Take 3 more charges, fat boy.
Yeah, we'll see you on Monday.
I would like it to go to Monday.
Yeah,
I would like another day of
I'm
basketball.
on board with that.
I would
now.
like another
I
day
wasn't
of
before,
basketball.
but I am now. I'm on.
I'm not fired up for parade Mondays. I'm fired up for parade Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have it the night before a show. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And then so we can have a nice.
I got a little
glide
inside
into the summer.
knowledge for the parade.
Oh,
if
really?
they win tonight.
Really?
Do tell.
Somebody in charge wants to have it Sunday.
Oh, that's it. That can't happen, right?
That's what she was told. Yes.
That's Father's Day. Oh boy, that's going to be bad. Getting in this city.
She's a good decision.
All right, we'll leave you with the song from Tyler Milliken's cousin. Tyler Milliken's cousin. Don't let your cousin make you debase yourself with pepperoni nipples taking your shirt off. I don't know what your nipples look like, Tyler Milliken's cousin, but I know what your cousins look like.
Might be a genetic thing. The whole family might have pepperoni nips.
My kids are horrified.
I mean, Milliken, he loves baseball, and he's proving
That
it
doesn't mean you
by
love
debasing himself. All right, Ryan Johnson, support him for the new voice of your Boston Bruins. That'll do it for us. A much well-earned weekend. That'll do it for us. Everyone have a great weekend. Bye.
See the people hanging in the bar in the evening on a Thursday night. A little light is shining off the parquet, lets me know everything's alright. Banner 18 makes me feel fine, blowing through the rafters in my mind. See the Celtics driving to the baseline, fans chanting, "We want one more." So I walk up through the north end, down the tunnel and across the floor. Banner 18